The Phoenix Wright Ace Attorney on the Nintendo Switch, the first game in the trilogy. It's time to finish this game. Okay, so I have to go back out because I forgot something last time. I realized after ending the stream the other day that I had forgotten to check something. I already talked to her. Yeah, this. I wonder what he was writing before. Come on, Mr. Wright, let's take a look. Are you crazy? Edgeworth is sitting right there. Just distract him, I'll check it out. Hey, Edgeworth. Is that Detective Gumshoe out the window there? Oh no, he's falling to the ground. Hold on, first let me see what this girl's doing crawling around my feet. He didn't even look. Wait, letter of If you're having trouble reading it, I'll read it for you, is what he said. I think I pressed the button one time too many again. It says letter of resignation. Resignation? Edgeworth, you don't mean... I'm tired, right? I feel as if something inside me has died. But Mr. Edgeworth, none of it is your fault. I know the path I've walked. You don't need to tell me. And the path I've walked hasn't been a just one. I can't forgive myself for what I've done. And no one else should forgive me either. Uh-oh. I think it's serious. Mr. Wright, please, you have to do something. This letter of resignation, I wonder if I can use it for anything. What's this crumpled up piece of paper? No way, Mr. Edgeworth can't be serious. Is he ever not serious? Yeah, good point. I can't believe they've pushed him so far. This far. Mr. Edgeworth really feels responsible. When I first met him, I thought he was as cold as ice, too. But I know different now. He trusted us detectives to provide him with sound evidence. But we betrayed him. Detective. That's it, I've made up my mind. But, here, take my ID card. We can't do that if someone found out. They won't let you off the hook with another lost item report. Look at me, it's no secret I'm already out of the loop. After all, I'm friends with Mr. Edgeworth. Depending on how this case turns out, I may already be as good as terminated. What? So, at least let me do this, for Mr. Edgeworth's sake. Alright, detective, thank you. Gumshoe's ID, a police department ID card, allows access to areas of the PD open to detectives. February 24, police department, chief's office. Here goes, Mr. Wright. Click. Beep. We're in. If anyone finds us now, Detective Gumshoe is a goner. If that happens, I'm counting on you to bail me out. Eek! Ah! Sorry, I thought you were a ghost. I didn't even know you could slap a ghost. Ah, Detective Gumshoe! What are you doing sneaking up on us like that? I wasn't sneaking, I was just worried something might go wrong. If I were you, I would avoid shouting like that. So I came too. If you're here, then what's the point in giving us your ID card? Gumshoe's ID crushed and rendered unusable in pocket. Oh, well that... I don't see the point. I don't see the point of crushing the card like that. Hey, don't do that to my card. Yeah, what was the point? I I hardly ever get a chance to come in here, so I figured I'd have a look around myself. Besides, we're all in this together now. You really do want to get fired, don't you? None if we're lucky. Now come on, let's see what we can find out. I've got a bad feeling about this. This is the real deal, isn't it? This armor and these weapons. Sure is, pal. The chief doesn't care for imitations. First the pipe organ, now this armor. Do you know how many taxpayer dollars must have gone into this room? What? You mean we're paying for this? That's it. I'm not paying 1 cent of my taxes. You're 16. You don't have any taxes to pay. Yeah. You don't have any taxes to pay yet. Shh, be careful of what you say. Who knows? The chief may be hiding in this armor as we speak. I don't think it fit in there. Yeah, I think it's too small. Even if he did, he'd never be able to get back out. Cut it out, you guys. Don't know how scary that guy can be. Wow. Look at the size of Chief Gant's desk. I was looking at the phone. Speaking of that, when we were here earlier... Oh, it's you two, Chief Gant. He put that paper he was reading in his desk. I wonder what he was reading. This looks like a list of evidence. A list of evidence? In most cases, the list runs twice as long as this, though. SL9 incident. Yeah. I wonder what this is doing here. Hold on, detective. What did you just say? I said, I wonder what... No, about evidence lists. Normally they're twice as long. That's right, I guess there wasn't a lot of evidence. A half-sized list of evidence. The list of evidence, it seems too short. Most lists run twice as long. Yeah, Edgeworth was saying something like that too. What would the other half of the list be doing here? I knew it, the chief must be hiding something about that case. It would appear so. The chief's organ is sure is a sight to behold. Occasionally we hear him playing it from the Criminal Affairs Department. That's on the 2nd floor, and this is the 15th floor of an entirely different building. When the detective screws up, the chief calls them to his office and makes them listen to the organ for hours. What's so bad about that? Music soothes the soul. After that, the detective can't hear anything for days except for the ringing in their ears. So it's an instrument of punishment, literally. But aren't the chief's ears affected? He never listens to anyone anyway. That's beside the point. I was wondering why there wasn't the little V on it. The little tick to say that I've already checked that out. I better look a little more into this list. Oh. I wonder what this is. It looks like someone drew some kind of sketch here. What is it? Did you find something? I can't make it out. I'd better keep quiet about it for now. Huh? Oh no. No, it's nothing. Why are your eyes moving about like that, Mr. Wright? Yeah, I'd better not forget about this picture indeed. Can see pretty far from 15 stories up. If we were to drop that distance, yeah, well, so whatever. At first the chief wanted to use stained glass for this window. Really? Why didn't he? They say he changed his mind because he wouldn't be able to see the view. Oh, stained glass or not, it's a huge window. Well, there is stained glass in the upper portion. This is a safe, isn't it? Safe? That word is ripe with intrigue. Okay, if you say so. Looks like a code needs to be entered in this panel to open it. 7-digit number. I think I just might know what it is. Do you know what it is? I have a hunch. Oh, I know. You want to try my birth date? It's... Come on, let me input it. I have a better idea. Here goes nothing. Yeah, I thought so. 7 digits? That told me something. What number did you enter? Whose birthday was that, pal? 7777777. The final ID card number on that record. The guy is so dumb. He can't even remember his ID card number or his password, so he uses the same number for everything, it seems. The number of the mysterious executive officer who entered the room that day. You mean 7777777, that ID number? I think you're 1 7 shy this time. This can only mean one thing. That's Chief Gaunt's ID number. Say, anyone care to look inside? Is there any money in there? How much does he have stashed away? Look, it's a shard from a broken cup. This somehow looks familiar. Where have I seen this before? There's something else in here too. What's this? Looks like a piece of leather cloth. This is handprint, isn't it? Hey, I saw someone wearing a shirt like that once. You think the chief made up the design? I don't think so. Oh, well, it was just a thought. Is that it? This is all that was in the safe? Apparently so. It's empty now. A piece of cloth with a handprint on it and a broken shard from a cup. They look like pieces of evidence. Yeah, but unless you can prove they have something to do with this case, I'm afraid I can't just let you take them. After all, it's my neck on the line here. Great. Now I have to prove their relevancy to get them. How are these two items related to the SL9 incident? Come on, there has got to be something we can show the detective. Yeah, that. Whoops. Oh no, present. Yeah. I want to present it. Come on. Detective. Sorry. It's the meds I take that makes me eject anything that I have in my lungs. Detective Gumshoe, could you have another look at this jar? I remember when the three of us put that back together. Ah, those were the days. It's kind of early to be nostalgic. Wasn't this jar a piece of evidence from that case? That's right, one of the shards had an SL9 incident sticker on it. Doesn't this ring any bells? You know that fragment we just found? You mean this one? That was in the safe? Yeah, yes, that one. That was in the safe. Now that you mention it, it's ringing a lot of bells. Let's see if it fits. Here, let me see that shard. I'll take a crack at this. Go ahead, pal. Show us what the rookie can do. Mr. Wright, here's some glue. If I can piece this together again, it'll prove Chief Gant was knowingly hiding evidence. Here goes. Combine. There, it fits like a charm. That, of course, means Chief Gant willingly and knowingly hid a piece of this jar in his safe. In other words, he concealed a piece of evidence from the SL9 incident. But, hey guys, get a load of this. What is it? This piece you just attached. It's different from the others. There's a reddish line on it. A reddish line? That's blood. I don't get it. Why would Chief Gant hide this in his safe? Unstable jar updated in the court record. Hey, look here. It's hard to make out, but there's a dark stain here. It looks like blood. This piece the chief has is different though. The bloodstains on the other pieces are just spots, but this one's a line. That is odd. I can't connect the dots yet. If you rotate it a certain way, I know it looks like something. Nah, she's gonna say the same thing. Yeah, okay, whatever. Okay, let's keep looking. These shelves are mostly empty. Lana must have cleaned them out when she transferred over to the prosecutor's office. There's a small picture frame on the left shelf. Hey! This is when... Oh, shoot. Hey! This is when Lana and I went to that theme park. Well, there are two desks, so one of them must be Lana's older desk, right? This was Lana's desk. Ah, yeah, there we go. It sure is tidy. Lana's always been a meticulous cleaner. There's not even any dust on it. Looks like someone's still keeping it clean. Does Lana ever come back here? No. She can't still keep it clean in memory of their partnership. He wore the stuff legends are made of. Does he keep it in memory of her or in memory of the crime? This was taken on that day 2 years ago, the day Joe Dark ran out of the questioning room and tried to kill Emma. After receiving his award trophy, Mr. Marshall took a picture here, then went along with Chief Gant to question Dark. I bet he never knew he'd be dead just a few hours later. Gee, you think? But there's the same vase in the picture, and that's been bothering me all along. Well, what else is there to check now? Oh, another window? Look at that giant window, makes you want to crash through it and jump outside. This is the 15th floor. I know, I was just saying. Saying what? Ever since making detective, I've always dreamed about doing something like that. Hello. No, yeah, it is Rise from the Ashes. Yeah, it's the final case, and I think I should be done with it today. Hello, Vitromo. Welcome to the stream. So long as he doesn't go crashing through that window when he gets fired. Don't say that. What have I not checked yet? I've checked the organ, the suit of armor. You remember playing and you skipped Rise of the Ashes? The case was added only years later. Yeah. Yeah. It wasn't on GBA. It was added to the DS version. Yeah. It's kind of a connecting point to, well, Apollo Justice Ace Attorney, because some of the characters that were to appear in that game were in that case. Like Emma, I think she is in Apollo Justice, though I have never played Apollo Justice myself. I had only ever played this one, the first one, so now that I have the trilogy on Switch, I plan on playing the whole trilogy eventually. Let's see. Oh yeah, I can talk to Gumshoe now. Ah, well, there you go. Yeah. Although my brother has the almost entire collection, so I could borrow them off of him if I wanted to play those. That desk on the other side of the room. What's that, your sister's? Yes, that's where I was waiting for Lana on that day 2 years ago. Is anyone using it now? No, sir. This is entirely Chief Gant's office now. He practices a strict policy of preserving the crime scene. That's a strange reason to leave it there. He leaves it as a warning to everyone else. He wants us to always be alert. He told us so himself at our New Year's party. Of course, he was pretty intoxicated at the time. I see. So, ever since Lana left, no one ever touches that desk? No one except Chief Gant, and the cleaning lady was in here each morning. Still, 2 years have passed since that incident. There can't possibly be any clues remaining. Can I ask you something? Sure. You only came here to look around, right? Because it's one of the SL9 crime scenes. I mean, that's your only reason for coming here, isn't it? Why do you ask? You don't think... Nah, you wouldn't be. No. No, there is no way. Never mind. Don't worry about it. Okay, now then, let's look around a bit more. Hey, hold on. Not so fast, buddy. Huh? What is it? When someone tells you don't worry about it, it's supposed to start bothering you, pal. You don't just let it go at that. Sorry, this guy is starting to get on my nerves. Okay, so what's bothering you? You two don't think Chief Gant might be a suspect, do you? That's exactly what I think. What? He's right, Mr. Wright. What do we think of him? Chief Gant, so it's finally come to this. What do I think of him? Perhaps it's best I don't divulge my feelings yet. There you go, ignoring me again. Should I present him more pieces of evidence, perhaps? That's what the chief was reading before, isn't it? You know, when we first came in here, yeah, it looks like the right side of the form's been torn off. So Mr. Edwards' list really was only half of the whole thing. Something else is bugging me more than that. Take a look at the back of that form, pal. The back? Yeah, I already checked it. There was a picture on the back. Yeah, oops. I didn't mean to present the same thing the second time. It looks like someone drew some kind of sketch here. What is it? Did you find something? I can't make it out. I'd better keep quiet about it for now. Oh, no, it's nothing. Why are your eyes moving about like that, Mr. Wright? I'd better not forget about this picture. Yeah, I'd already checked that before, so that's nothing new. If I'm fired, I won't be able to give you any information. So that's why I have to get it all out of my system now. You understand, don't you? Don't be so negative, detective. We do want you to share your information, though. Oh, who am I fooling? I've never had anything useful to share to begin with. Got to stay positive. Yeah, I guess this is his default reaction to anything I show him. Yeah, he's gonna say the same thing when he has no specific reaction to something. He's gonna keep saying that. I feel a lot better now that this jar is complete. But it only raises another question. What was a piece of it doing in the chief's safe? More importantly, why wasn't there any money in there? Isn't that what safes are for anyway? I have a feeling the outcome of tomorrow's trial just might hinge on this. That's all the reaction I'm gonna get from this? Yeah, I was wondering about that, that piece of leather cloth that was inside the safe. It's not in my evidence. I wanted to dust it for fingerprints. What, I can't? Yeah. What are you doing? Why are you sticking out your hand like that? Go ahead, take my fingerprints. It's not your fingerprints we want to take, huh? Come on, this isn't the time for jokes. We're talking about that cloth we found in the safe. Yeah, okay. Yeah, that's exactly what I wanted to do. The one with the handprint on it, right? Sheesh, where's your sense of humor? Okay, there we go. Okay, Mr. Wright, let's check for prints. Sprinkle the powder on the cloth. Then once they've been absorbed into the prints, blow the rest away. What are you, my mom? I don't have to be told a million times. Alright, let's get this over with. Give it my best shot. That kind of result won't be any good for matching prints, will it? But it doesn't look like we'll get a clearer result from this print. Okay, let's try a different finger then. Yeah. Well, this one looks more distinct than the others, so... Sprinkle it generously. This is definitely Emma's print. No, how can this be? What are Emma's fingerprints doing here? Hey, you found a match? Whose fingerprints were they? Oh, it seems the prints are too old. They aren't clear enough to get a match. Oh, that's too bad. I thought they'd be dark prints. Yeah. Psst, hey you, over here. What's going on here? What are that kid's prints doing inside the chief's safe? Don't ask me. Let's just keep this information from Emma for now. Here, maybe you should hold on to this. Well, was I any help? Of course. Thanks to your ID card, we were able to get some hard evidence. Now, that's not very kind, is it? In other words, if it wasn't for his ID card, he would have been useless. Isn't that right, you in the coat? Chief Gant. Why didn't... We didn't think you'd be back so soon. Fortunately, I'm a man who believes in signs. As I was walking to my meeting, I happened to look out a window and saw a stray dog run into a pole. Just then, I thought of a certain detective. Do you mean me, sir? Now then, I'm afraid I'm going to have to ask you all to leave. Yes, sir. Sorry. Oh, you in the coat. Me, sir? Drop off your ID on the way out. You won't be needing it anymore. But, sir... Now get out. Yes, sir. We'll be on our way too then. Wait, you the one without the spiky hair. Don't go yet. Me, sir? I'd like a word with you. But sir, I'm not a licensed scientific investigator yet. You with the spiky hair, you're free to go. Mr. Wright. You'd better not hurt her. Look, pal, if I've told you once, I've told you 1,000 times, the chief's office is off limits. But no, you just had to go sneaking in there like that, didn't you? I thought you said you didn't care anymore if you were fired. Yeah, but if I knew I'd be like this, I never would have said it. Now that I've seen the evidence Chief Gant was hiding in his office, I think I'm finally starting to get the picture. But why has she kept eerily silent about it all this time? Anyway, you listening to me? I'm gonna try to smooth things over with the chief again. Later, pal. After that, I heard from Emma. She said the police wanted to ask her some questions, so she'll be busy for the rest of the day. I see, so the chief asked Emma to come in for questioning. It's no use thinking about it. Tomorrow's the final day in court. I'm committed to doing everything I can to defend you, which is why I'm here. But I've already told you all I can. What you've told me over these past couple of days is absolutely nothing, not a single useful thing. Really? I believe I did mention something quite important, something I told you right at the beginning. I said that I was the one who stabbed Detective Goodman. You know, I think I finally figured it out. I know who it is that's lurking behind your words. Mia did a good job mentoring you. I'm rather jealous. It seems Edgeworth was right. Edgeworth? Once you're convinced you know something, no one can persuade you otherwise. Thick-headed is the term he used, I believe. Now is my chance to get her to tell me the rest of her story. I had to admit I was more than a little perplexed at first. You insisted you did it, yet there was no incriminating evidence. That's when it hit me. It's not that you're unwilling to tell the truth, it's that you're incapable of doing so because of a certain individual. What an intriguing notion. A certain individual, you say. So you think I'm protecting this person. Protecting? No, I think afraid of is more like it. If I'm not mistaken, the person in question may have persuaded you to silence. For argument's sake, Mr. Wright, who, may I ask, is this person you're speaking of? The one I am supposedly so frightened of. What is this person's name? Take that! Well, Miss Guy? Mr. Wright, you are addressing the chief prosecutor. Do not forget your place. I take it she's still not ready to spill the beans. My apologies. Could you please tell me a bit more about what you think you know? We were partners until 2 years ago. I respected him as a detective. Assuming he is respectable, then tell me something. Why would he try to hide his crimes? His crimes? Both you and Edgeworth will be brought before a board of inquiry for what you did, specifically hiding and forging evidence. Of course, these are serious offenses. Why is it, though, that Chief Gant's name was never mentioned? Chief Gant? Edgeworth didn't know the truth behind the forgery. The only party who could have possibly tampered with the evidence was me. I had access because I was second in command of that investigation. Yes, you, but also one other, Damon Gant. If you intend to accuse Chief Gant, you'll need more than just words. Show me proof that Chief Gant falsified evidence in that case. I just found this in the safe in the chief's office. This jar piece and this piece of cloth. Do you know what these are? They're pieces of evidence from the SL9 incident. The person concealing evidence was none other than Chief Gant himself. Now tell me, why are you taking all the blame for him? Touché, Mr. Wright. It's as you surmised. I cannot disobey the chief's orders, even if it means being found guilty for murder. Why not? Come now, Mr. Wright, you can't possibly expect me to be able to tell you that. 3 days ago, I had no choice but to cooperate in the murder of Detective Goodman. Or perhaps I should say, follow orders. Yes, that's more accurate than cooperate. Although I can't tell you the details, I can say that I was given an order that day. I need you to dispose of Bruce Goodman's body. You'll find it inside the trunk of Miles Edgeworth's car. Just as I suspected, despite what everyone believes, you are not the one who murdered Detective Goodman. Correct. I was trying to take the body out of Edgeworth's car. The trunk's lock was broken and I discovered that murder weapon while inspecting the body. The murder weapon, you mean Edgeworth's knife? No, when I found the body, this was the knife stuck in it. The knife from the SL9 incident, serial killer Joe Dark's knife. I couldn't just leave that knife in him. So I took it out and stabbed him with another knife. That would be Edgeworth's knife. That's right, even though he was already dead, my hands were shaking at the thought of stabbing him. That's why I ended up cutting my hand. And that is the reason for the bandage on your right hand. Yes, it seems that I got blood on the victim's shoes as well. And then, he saw me just as I plunged the knife in. Miss Starr, huh? Yeah, he was already dead then. Why did you need to hide Dark's knife so badly? It took a lot of work to finally close the Dark's case 2 years ago. It was over with. I didn't ever want it to be opened again. My intent was to prevent that by whatever means possible. So you hid Dark's knife. The weapon used to stab the detective was evidence in the Joe Dark case. If word got out, which it would, the reporters would have a field day with that. So you wrapped the knife in your scarf and hid it. In Edgeworth's exhaust pipe. Right, then I called my sister to tell her what happened and to ask her to hide the knife that was inside my muffler. You asked Emma? I didn't want anyone on the force to know about this. That would explain why Emma is so confident about Lana's innocence. Speaking of phone calls, I had a bad feeling about one of them that day. A bad feeling? The truth is, after I received those orders from Chief Gant, the first thing I did was make a phone call. A phone call to Patrolman Jake Marshall. To Marshall? Why on earth would you call him? The lead investigator for the SL9 incident had been murdered. I wanted that fact to be kept hidden and I needed help. He was the only other person I could trust, or at least I thought I could trust him at the time. However, it seems that after I spoke to him, he went off on an escapade of his own. Oh, you mean, not wanting the case to die, he decided to take things into his own hands. He disguised himself as Detective Goodman and tried to steal the evidence. He had already stolen the ID card, but it seems he still hadn't made up his mind to break into the evidence room. After my phone call, any remaining doubts he had must have disappeared. So your phone call caused the incident in the evidence room. I'm afraid that's all I can tell you. But Lana, you've earned my respect, Mr. Wright, both as a defense attorney and an investigator. Now, please, don't pursue this any further in court tomorrow. Tomorrow's trial, there is only one way to drive off Lana's demons. I've got to get to the bottom of everything. Detective Goodman's real murderer. And what went down in the chief's office 2 years ago. This is it. The final day. Dun, 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 dun. This record, defendant lobby number 2. There's no defendant. I've been trying to reach Lana all morning. Where could she be? And where is Emma for that matter? It almost seems as if something's been happening behind the scenes. Edgeworth, knowing you, you've already figured it out. Who the owner of the 7777, yeah, whatever ID number is, that is. Well, I have a pretty strong hunch. Looks like I'm not the only one who's figured it out. You know, the only reason this trial didn't reach a verdict yesterday is because there was still room for doubt regarding this ID record. If that number does belong to whom I suspect, then no doubt will remain. After all, he hasn't been officially charged with anything. True, not yet. In any event, once all doubt has been removed from that list, I can call for a ruling. 5 minutes, Wright, and Chief Prosecutor Sky will be found guilty. But she didn't do it. I figured you'd say as much. That's why I came here, to hear what you have to say. This is the first time he's ever done something like this. Lana is hiding something, and the only way we'll ever know the truth is to draw it out of her. The truth? Everything goes back to the SL9 incident. Don't be stupid. Today's the last day of the trial. We don't have time to reminisce about the past. That depends on you. If she's found guilty, you'll lose your only chance to find out what really happened. I'll think about it. See you in court, Wright. This is it. If I'm ever going to find out what Chief Gant has on her, it's now. It always starts at 10 AM sharp. Court is now in session for the trial of Miss Lana Sky. The defense is ready, Your Honor. The prosecution is ready, Your Honor. Normally this is when the prosecution puts forth its opening statement. But before that, the police chief has a proposal to make Chief Gant. Morning, folks. How's everyone doing? Hey, Ajay. Been back to the pool yet? Now I've been drowning enough as it is in my work. Oh, that's a good one. Don't think I can top that. If you don't mind me asking, Chief, exactly what is this proposal of yours? What's with the long silences? Alana, that is to say the defendant, has asked me if she could speak directly to the court. She wants to do what? Having heard what she intends to say, I feel she should be granted her request. In the end, it should save everyone a lot of time and trouble. What's this all about, defendant? I'd just like to make one simple request and I'll be finished. Well then, what's your request? Your Honor, I'd like you to put an immediate end to this trial. Huh? I confess to all charges against me. On February 21st of this year, I murdered Detective Bruce Goodman in the underground parking lot of the prosecutor's office. No, Lana! You can't. Your Honor, the defendant's claim does not change the defense's plea. In that case, Mr. Wright, I no longer require your services. But Lana, Your Honor, I hereby forfeit my rights to an attorney. The prosecution may lack direct evidence against me, but it has sufficiently proven its case through testimony and circumstantial evidence. I would like you to render your verdict now, if you please. Well, the defendant certainly has the right to self-representation. Her request is legally valid, although this is an unprecedented situation. Indeed, it appears there is no further need to continue this trial, even if Mr. Wright may feel otherwise. This can't be happening. It appears the time for the verdict has arrived. This court finds the defendant... Objection! Yeah, I knew it. One moment, Your Honor. Mr. Edgeworth, the prosecution has not yet proven the defendant guilty beyond reasonable doubt. Any ruling at this stage would certainly be premature. Come now, Worthy. I understand this is a difficult time for you, but why don't you just be a good little boy and keep your mouth shut, I don't think I care for your tone, Chief Gant. What? Creating another fabrication to cover up your past mistakes. Sorry, but I'm no longer the naive little boy you would have me be. Good going, Edgy. With this sudden confession from the defendant, it's obvious to me some kind of deal was struck behind the scenes. Some kind of deal, Not everyone operates as you do, Worthy. I thought so. Your Honor, the prosecution would like to change its first witness. Oh, to whom? As its first witness, the prosecution would like to call Miss Emma Sky. I request the court hears her testimony. Mr. Edgeworth, I am exercising my right to self-representation. I don't think we need to continue. I don't care what you think, Miss Sky. The exposure of truth sometimes results in tragedy. However, no matter how tragic the truth may be, it would be an even greater tragedy to avert one's eyes from it. Very well, the court shall grant the prosecution's request. That's okay with you, right, Chief Gant? Worthy. You'll live to regret this, mark my words. Miss Emma Sky, please take the stand. Looks like Edgeworth has decided to take the horse by the reins. Now then, witness, please state your name and occupation. My name is Emma Sky. My occupation, I'm Lana's little sister and I want to be a scientific investigator. 2 years ago, you encountered the serial killer Joe Dark of the Joe Dark killings. Is this correct? Yes, I'm trying my hardest to forget about that though. I'm sorry, but I'm afraid I'm going to have to ask you to recall those events one more time. Mr. Edgeworth, please remember this trial concerns the murder of Detective Goodman. And is an incident that was resolved 2 years ago really all that relevant? Yes, it most certainly is. Well, okay then. You sure gave in fast. Now, please testify about what happened to you 2 years ago. The trip to yesteryear has finally begun. It's bound to lead to the truth behind this trial. I was waiting in my sister's office that day. A man came running in and took me hostage. Neil Marshall rescued me, but I'll never forget what I saw in that instant. The man raised up his knife and stabbed Mr. Marshall in the chest. It's a good thing you weren't armed. I passed out. I don't remember much. That's understandable. However, please tell Mr. Edgeworth, what does this testimony have to do with Detective Goodman's murder? That will soon become apparent, Your Honor. You've got to admire him for his courage, considering he has no evidence. Very well, the defense may begin its cross-examination. But I am not the defense anymore, right? I was waiting in my sister's office that day. 2 years ago, the defendant was a detective at the police department, correct? Yes, she was second in command under then Deputy Chief of Police Gant. My sister, she was the best detective ever. Yes, I remember. Deputy Chief Gant and Miss Sky used to be quite a pair. I believe they shared the same office. That's right, I'd always sit on my sister's desk and dream about playing that organ. I wanted to play it that day too. The police department and the prosecutor's office had the ceremony that day. Lana promised to take me to dinner after she finished her work. A man came running in and took me hostage. Neil Marshall rescued me, but I'll never forget what I saw in that instant. The man raised up his knife and stabbed Mr. Marshall in the chest. Emma doesn't have any reason to lie, but Lana sure does. I need to get Emma to tell me as much about this as she can. Yeah, I need to press her on every detail, it seems. A man? Yes, Joe Dark. He was a serial killer. Joe Dark was brought in for questioning on the day of that ceremony. We were desperate to get anything on him that would lead to an arrest. When he saw his chance, he fled the room, right? Upon fleeing the room, Dark proceeded to take the elevator. He must have been in a panic because the elevator was going up. Then he ran into Sky and Gant's office. There was a lot of noise coming from outside, so I opened up the door to have a look. That's when I saw him. Neil Marshall rescued me. What was the prosecutor doing there? That day, there were two people present during Dark's questioning, Deputy Chief Damon Gant and Prosecutor Neil Marshall. Almost forgot about Gant. Neil Marshall had just received the King of Prosecutors Award. Young and dedicated, he went straight to the questioning room after the ceremony. I assume that would also be why he was the first to run after Dark. When Dark grabbed me, I thought I was as good as dead. And that's when Prosecutor Marshall came running in. I don't clearly remember what happened then, but I'll never forget what I saw in that instant. Can you tell us about that? Mr. Marshall jumped on Dark. Just then the lights went out. The lights? It was just about this time of year. There was a terrible storm going on and lightning struck nearby. So the electricity went out. Wait a minute. If it was pitch dark in that room, you shouldn't have been able to see anything, right? Right, but just then, lightnings flashed again outside. That sudden flash left an unforgettable image of the scene in my mind. I see. I told the detective about what I saw then. The detective? Yes. Detective Goodman was in charge of the case. Detective Bruce Goodman, the victim. So you spoke with Detective Goodman about this 2 years ago? Yes, that's what's so scary about this trial, and you told Detective Goodman about what you saw. Yes, but at the time the words wouldn't come out. That's why I drew a picture. A picture? Yes, I think she mentioned that before. Well, Mr. Wright, have you heard enough? This picture the witness drew, I believe it has a very important meaning. But the list of evidence I was given 2 years ago didn't contain a picture. Witness, would you mind if we added this statement to your testimony? Yes, Your Honor. Which one is it again? Is it this one? Ah, yeah, it is. Mr. Edgeworth, this little girl put all her heart into drawing that picture. And yet you would insist on denying its existence? Huh? Hey, I'm not the bad guy. All I'm saying is that as the prosecutor for that case, I wasn't handed such a picture. That may well be, but that doesn't mean it doesn't exist. Behold, this is the evidence list for the SL9 incident. Please turn it over, Your Honor. Turn it over, Ah, what's this? Yes, what is that? Hey, that's it. That's the picture I drew. Indeed, two men appear to be wrestling here. What's the meaning of this? What are you doing with that list? Me? Only the prosecutor in charge should have access to that list. Huh. These lists. They're different from each other. What? It would appear, Mr. Edgeworth, that the evidence list you were handed 2 years ago was incomplete. These two lists fit together well, okay, they complete one another. You can see the marks here where they were torn apart from each other. So you see, Mr. Edgeworth, it's quite obvious what happened 2 years ago. Only half of the evidence in that case ever reached you. What? What? Order, order! But Miss Sky, why did you draw your picture on the back of such an important list? Because that's what Detective Goodman handed me in the questioning room, Your Honor. Wait a minute. If this list was torn in half, then that means... Your Honor, are you alright, Mr. Wright? Your eyes are bulging from your head. If the evidence list was torn in half, then there might be more of the drawing on the back of Mr. Edgeworth's list. How would you not notice something like that? It's quite conceivable, Mr. Edgeworth. It's possible. Let's see. Something wrong. Do you even have to ask? Sorry, Your Honor. There is indeed something drawn on the back of my list. It's that thing. That's that thing. That thing that was dancing in the evidence room. Clearly, this act of vandalism is the work of a certain chief of detectives. Actually, no, that's not what it is. Very well, witness. Will you please testify about this picture you drew 2 years ago? Yes, sir, Your Honor. What's wrong with Emma? She seemed to be thinking about something when she was looking at the picture. Yeah, she drew that too. This is the picture I drew 2 years ago. The flash of lightning was so bright that all I could see were shadows. After that, I must have fainted. This picture shows exactly what I saw in that instant. To think a flash of lightning could burn such an image in your mind. Thanks to that, though, she was able to show us exactly what she saw. Well, I don't see any contradictions here. This clearly shows Joe Dark about to murder Prosecutor Neil Marshall. The defense may now begin its cross-examination. Did you draw this picture right after the incident? I think I drew it 2 or 3 days later. At first, I was in such a state of shock that I couldn't do anything. During that time, the investigation team was reorganized. Detective Goodman was placed in charge under the direction of Damon Gant and Lana Sky. 2 or 3 days later, the memory, should still be fresh, I should say. Excuse me, witness. But can you please tell us why this picture is painted all black? The flash of lightning was so bright all I could see were shadows. So at the time, you didn't even know it was Mr. Marshall who had come to your rescue? No, I couldn't see him clearly. The lightning was so bright and I was knocked to the floor. You were knocked to the floor? Dark had a tight grip on me, but when Mr. Marshall jumped on him, I was knocked away. I turned around, and that's when the lightning flashed. He's not wearing his hat on that picture, Marshall. Poor Emma, I'm just glad she wasn't hurt. What happened after the lightning flashed? After that, I must have fainted. You mean you didn't see the actual murder take place? No, I'm sorry. The flash of lightning only drove off the darkness for a split second. Not only that, but the trauma of the situation understandably caused the witness to faint. Do you really need to torture this girl any further? What? Hey, I'm not the bad guy here. Anyway, this picture. This picture shows exactly what I saw in that instant. Sorry for asking so many times, but are you sure you drew exactly what you saw? Of course, this is the exact scene. I wasn't influenced in any way from your talks with the detectives. It wasn't influenced. Yeah. Are you insinuating we somehow manipulated her memory, Mr. Wright? No, of course not. I'd better watch out, or you might find some way to cut my salary. I drew this picture before I heard anything from the detectives, so I don't think anyone's story would have influenced me. Mr. Wright, is there something, yeah, blah blah blah, oh well. That's strange. She claims this is exactly the scene that was imprinted in her mind, and yet there's clearly a contradiction here. If I had to guess from the picture, it's not a knife that the person on the left is holding. Yeah, although I guess it could be a knife with a broken tip. Trying to figure this out. It's not coming. Maybe I should have a look at the file again. Yes, stabbed in the back, yeah. Yeah, there we go. I hate to be the bearer of bad news, but this picture the witness drew contains a blatant contradiction. What? But I still remember it just like it was yesterday. Mr. Wright, perhaps it would be faster if you simply pointed out this contradiction for us. What part of this picture contradicts the autopsy report? The fact that he's facing his aggressor? Take that! I think it's this part here. I don't see what's so strange about that. That's because this drawing stinks. Mr. Wright, how could you? The act of making an innocent girl cry should warrant the death penalty. But I don't know how to express what I have in mind through that picture. Yeah, well, so long as the defense has learned its lesson, I better take another look at that autopsy report and this picture. Mr. Wright, perhaps it would be faster if you simply pointed out this contradiction for us. What, this? Take that! Take a look at the knife the man is holding. If you look closely, you can see its tip is broken. Even I don't have to look closely to see that, Mr. Wright. But Mr. Wright, look at the evidence. See the murder weapon? Its tip is broken too. If I recall, the tip of the knife was found broken off in the victim's body. Yeah, but he hadn't been stabbed yet at that moment, so the tip shouldn't have already been broken. Yeah, it was a conclusive piece of evidence that proved Joe Dark was the murderer. I'm afraid it's not so simple, Emma. Objection! And where, pray tell, could you possibly see a problem? It's obvious, really. The victim suffered a single stab wound to the back. If the victim was only stabbed once, then the murder weapon should not yet be broken. Huh. What's the meaning of this? Perhaps the knife was broken beforehand. Then how would the tip have been in the wound then? Sorry, but I'm afraid that's not possible. The tip of the knife was found inside the victim's body. If it was broken beforehand, it couldn't possibly wind up there. That's right, but what does it mean? The tip of the knife was undeniably discovered within the victim's body. The only possible explanation is the witness's memory is mistaken. That's why I asked her so many times if she was sure if she remembered correctly. I believe you were annoyed at the time, but she was sure she remembered correctly. But there was no other way to explain this inconsistency. Yeah, unless the autopsy report was falsified. Yeah, have you forgotten already about a little something called falsified evidence? You're treading on thin ice, right? All I'm saying is that this broken knife tip might be the piece of evidence that was forged. You can't deny the possibility. No. Ah. Order! 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 Are you saying the investigation really was corrupted? Your Honor, please allow me to once again go over the events that took place the day of the murder. The police department and the prosecutor's office were holding a ceremony that day. After receiving the King of Prosecutors Award at the ceremony, Neil Marshall questioned Joe Dark along with Damon Gant. During this questioning, Joe Dark fled the room. Prosecutor Marshall chased after him and was killed by Dark. It is my belief that somewhere in this story there is a lie. I'm not lying. The man really was holding up a broken knife. If that's true, then there's no other way around it. This could not have been the actual murder weapon. There must have been another broken knife. What are the chances of there being two broken knives? Another broken knife besides Joe Dark's? Could there have been one? I don't know about that. Allow me to save. Broken knives don't just grow on trees. There's no way there was another one. Well, Mr. Wright, Your Honor, I believe the witness must be mistaken. I knew it. You really don't believe me. That flash of lightning burned an unforgettable image in her mind. One that's been torturing her ever since. There's no way Emma could be mistaken. If the witness is this adamant about the accuracy of what she saw, it can't just be explained away by a simple observational error. Mr. Wright, in that instant, Emma really did see a broken knife. I assume then that you have some information about this other broken knife, so please feel free to enlighten us. The murder weapon was already broken prior to the murder. There's only one way. Take a look at this. Here's the real murder weapon. Ah. Hold on. Yeah. That thing that's on the trophy. Which one should I show? The picture or the trophy itself? If anything's broken here, it's you. Huh? I'm sure this must all be very amusing to you, Mr. Wright, but may I remind you that the fate of Miss Lana Skye hangs in the balance? It's in the picture. The answer lies in the past. 2 years in the past. Right here, inside this picture. This is a picture of the award ceremony. What is it, Mr. Edgeworth? It's the broken murder weapon. Notice the award prosecutor Marshall is holding. That's a broken knife. As we earlier concluded, the knife in the drawing was not Joe Dark's knife. That being the case, the knife the witness saw was in all likelihood from this award. Order! 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 Neil Marshall was awarded King of Prosecutors that day. As an award, he was given this broken shield and knife. When he chased after Joe Dark, he pulled out his knife. Being a prosecutor, he did not carry a pistol. This broken knife was the only weapon he had in this dangerous situation. But that can't be. Oh, and why not, Mr. Edgeworth? Because if the King of Prosecutors Award knife was the murder weapon, then the murderer and the victim would be reversed. What do you mean? I mean, this man raising a knife would have been Prosecutor Neil Marshall. Oh. Oh. But the prosecutor was the one who actually died. That's true. What's going on here? It seems Mr. Wright has been a bit too eager to jump to conclusions. Wait, I remember now. I remember everything. Witness, Mr. Edgeworth. What is it? Could you show me your evidence list again, please? Is this the one with that picture scribbled on the back? I knew it. This picture. I'm the one who drew it. What? You drew that? That's right. The list wasn't torn in half at the time I drew this picture. All this time I've been trying so hard to forget. I must have locked this part away deep inside me. Perhaps it would be best if we added this to the witness's testimony. Would you please tell us what you recalled, Miss Sky? Yes, Your Honor. First the knife mix-up and now the blue badger. This should be interesting. It's not the blue badger. That's the thing. When I saw that man raise his knife, I panicked and rushed toward both of them. I think I knocked away the man with the knife. Just then there was another flash of lightning, and that's when I saw the blue badger. He wasn't in the room, but I'm sure I saw his shadow. This is certainly most unusual. The blue badger didn't exist back then. Try impossible, the chief of detectives hadn't even designed him until this year. That would mean he didn't even exist 2 years ago. Yes, well, the defense may now begin their cross-examination. Stop, please, don't pursue this any further. What's the meaning of this? Please remain seated in the defendant's chair. But you can't do this. I've already confessed to the crime. Why can't you just leave it at that? Chief Prosecutor Sky, we've already come this far. It's too late to turn back. Silence! The defense will now begin its cross-examination. Bailiff, please detain the defendant. It seems we're finally getting to the core of the matter. When I saw that man raise his knife, I panicked and rushed towards both of them. I think I knocked away the man with the knife. That's important. What do you mean, you think? It all happened so fast and I wasn't shocked. I don't remember everything clearly. What I did, it's all kind of a blur. Miss Sky was almost killed before she was witness to a murder about to take place. With so much happening in a matter of seconds, a little disorientation is only natural. I saw the man about to stab the other person who I thought was Mr. Marshall. I knew I had to stop the man with the knife. What you did was very brave, young girl. So then, what happened next? Just then, there was another flash of lightning, and that's when I saw the blue badger. Are you sure about this? Of course, see? I even drew a picture of him here. But it was the chief of detectives who thought of this hideous beast. And that was just this year. The blue badger didn't exist 2 years ago. It's all quite verifiable. I know it sounds strange. I was surprised too when I saw him at the police department. I had this nagging feeling that I'd seen him before somewhere. Now I finally remember. Oh brother, just when you thought that thing had caused enough commotion. Tell us, where in the room did you see him dancing? That looks kind of like it, doesn't it? I'm not sure if I can present it now. The mysterious blue badger was in fact this. But that's... what exactly is that? I believe it's some sort of jar. But Mr. Wright, that doesn't look anything like the blue badger. Indeed it doesn't. As it stands now, it's just a plain jar. However, what if we were to change our viewpoint? Our viewpoint? I've got to show them the correct angle to look at this from. kinda like that. Yeah, but it's not my fault that it's kinda hard to rotate the thing. Ah. It looks alright to me that way. Yeah, I know that, but this is so annoying. Yeah, see, it's kind of rotated at a weird angle the way it is, right? Oh yeah, but I can rotate it with the L and R buttons like this. Okay. How about like that? You happy now? Ah yeah, there we go. Okay, got it right. Well, is this a miracle or what? No one can possibly deny this jar's resemblance to the Blue Badger. No. It can't be! Order! Order! The defense has proven its claim. The mysterious Blue Badger witnessed on the day of the crime was actually this. Although we all enjoyed Mr. Wright's dramatic performance, one question remains. What's your point? What do you mean? So that badger thing was actually just a jar, but that doesn't change anything. I'm afraid that's where you're wrong, Mr. Edgeworth. You see, this changes everything. Indeed? Very well then, please tell us, what's different now that we know the witness saw this jar? Let me say. We know where the jar was. It was in the office of the chief of police. But we kinda already know that, so I don't expect it to be the location. Objection. Why you hate my cookie? Hi, welcome to the stream. Well, no, it's not the murder weapon. The murderer? I don't know what to go with, so I'll just pick any of them. Allow me to take these in turn. At the moment of the murder, the witness saw this jar. At a very specific angle, I might add, Mr. Wright. Yes, well, knowing this, where could she have seen this jar? Where? The location of the jar is shown in a picture taken on the day of the crime. It's on a shelf in the office of Damon Gant. But the body was found lying near Lana Sky's desk. The witness testified so herself. Thank you for the follow, Why You Hate My Cookie. Yes, and it is these two facts that reveal what actually transpired. You see, the struggle between Dark and Marshall did not take place in Lana Sky's office. What now? It happened on the other side of the room in Chief Gant's office. Are you implying the murderer moved the victim's body from Damon Gant's office to Lana Sky's office? Yes. Why would he do that? There's no reason. Exactly. If there wasn't a reason, he wouldn't have gone through the trouble. The only logical conclusion is that there was a reason. Do you know what that reason was, Mr. Wright? Well, actually, I'm not sure. I finally figured it out. So this is why Alana tried to stop the trial. too late to quit now, though. Please recall the witness's testimony. She said she knocked away the man who was holding up the knife. In the next instant, the jar was hit and flew through the air. Now tell me, what could have sent the jar flying? That would have to have been the impact the man made when he was knocked into the wall. Ladies and gentlemen, if I may draw your attention to this picture once more. Yeah, indeed, yeah, the suit of armor is by the window, on the side where Damon Gant's desk is. Yeah, if the man was knocked in the direction of the shelf the jar was sitting on, what would he have hit? The suit of armor? Yeah, holding a very sharp and dangerous looking sword. Yes. And since the man who was knocked into the armor was carrying a broken knife, he would have had to have been Neil Marshall wielding the King of Prosecutors trophy. No, Mr. Wright, you can't be thinking. Yes, there is another possibility of what actually transpired in that room. Another possibility? Of course, the perpetrator would have had no idea, but nevertheless. Wait, what? Mr. Wright, what's the matter? If events took place as the defense theorizes, then the outcome is obvious. In that moment, assuming the man Emma Skye knocked away was actually Prosecutor Neil Marshall. Oh, no. Yeah, okay, no, now I understand. It would be Emma Skye who killed Neil Marshall. By accident, but still. You mean Mr. Marshall died because of me? Oh, no. No! What have I done? She passed out. And that's why her sister was so adamant on not letting her testify like this. I never imagined her testimony would lead to this. So it was the witness who took the victim's life, and then proved so with her own testimony. This is unprecedented. Yeah. I should have thought so. What are you saying? I'm sorry, Miss Skye, but given the circumstances, Joe Dark murdered Prosecutor Marshall. How can you think it was Emma? How dare you try to pin the crime on her? Imagine that coming from you. If you recall, it was you who admitted to forging evidence 2 years ago. The reason you moved Prosecutor Marshall's body was to keep anyone else from finding out about what Emma did, wasn't it? I assure you, Mr. Edgeworth, I have no idea what you're talking about. If you hope to have anyone believe your insane allegations, I'm afraid you're going to have proof. To have proof. Yeah, sorry. That was a mouthful. Tell me, do you have any conclusive evidence that proved my sister killed Neil Marshall? Evidence. I'm willing to bet you don't. Yes, it certainly would be difficult to prove this with evidence. I'm not trying to prove anything as far as that girl is concerned, so if we don't have evidence, then we'll have to rely on testimony. I'm afraid that won't work in this case. Both parties involved in the incident are dead. We certainly can't get dead people to testify. This has all been a wild goose chase from the beginning. Touché, Miss Skye, of course. That only leaves us with one possibility. You mean there's still another possibility? What do you mean, Mr. Edgeworth? I mean the possibility that the victim has left us a message. For better or for worse, Mr. Marshall did not die instantly. He may have left behind the name of the person who took his life, in one manner or another. That's impossible. Well, Mr. Wright, this is the only possibility left to you. A message from the deceased. Does such a message exist? Do I want to, though? I don't want Emma to go to jail. Is in the evidence. It is in the evidence. I already know where this is going. Pardon me. This message from the deceased is already in our possession. Mr. Wright, will you stop at nothing to prove my sister is a murderer? Do not be mistaken, Miss Skye. Our purpose is not to accuse Emma of any crime. There is only one thing we seek, the truth. No matter how painful it may be. Now then, Mr. Wright, please show us the piece of evidence that conveys a message from the deceased. Take that! This is the message left by the deceased. This is that blue badger from before, right? Oh, is he going to just speak the killer's name? If that thing could, I'm sure it would. Looks like everyone's forgotten this is just a jar. A message was left here on the surface of this jar. What do you mean? If you look closely, you can see a faint trail of blood on this jar. It looks like someone wiped the blood away. Yes, but notice, for some reason the blood on some of the fragments was not wiped away. Yes, there is a line here drawn in blood. So what you're saying is these dots were once lines? I'm gonna have to play connect the dots. Prosecutor Marshall did not die instantly. He used the few precious moments left to him to leave behind a message. One that someone apparently wiped away, but blood must have seeped into the jar where the lines changed directions. Precisely so. All we need to do is connect those points, and the victim's message will become apparent. No. She knows about it. She probably is the one who wiped away the blood in the first place. Mr. Wright, what kind of message did the victim leave for us? Your Honor, I believe these bloodstains will reveal to us the answer. I've got to connect these dots to make letters. There's only one thing the victim would have written given the circumstances. His murderer's name. Do I have to connect this one? No? No, okay. It's obvious enough what it is. That should be enough. It's the defense attorney's duty to prove their client's innocence. That's why all I've been thinking about is saving Lana. After all my efforts, I never thought it would turn out like this. Emma. So this is the final message Prosecutor Marshall left behind. I don't think she actually did it. She was passed out. I think it might have been someone else who left that message behind to make it appear like Neil Marshall was accusing Emma of murdering her. But come on, she was a 14-year-old. Could she have enough strength to push an adult so hard backwards that he would be completely impaled on that spear from the suit of armor? I somehow doubt that. Of all people, she may not have meant it, but in the end, the one who took the victim's life was Emma Skye. No, I don't think so, but we have to go through this. Seaworthy? Can't say I didn't warn you. Chief Gant, do you understand the implications of what you've done? What? What are you talking about? 2 years ago, Joe Dark was sentenced to death. He was convicted because of his final murder. I believe you were the prosecutor in the case, were you not? Yes, Worthy, because of you, an innocent man was sentenced to death. Not only that, but you used forged evidence to ensure his conviction. But Joe Dark really was a serial murderer. That's undeniable. I'm afraid that's not important. Didn't you know? Yeah, justice something. What? We're merely keepers of the law. Sentencing a man to death is no light matter. Even if there wasn't any cover-up or evidence forgery. Ultimately, the responsibility falls on the prosecutor in charge. Despite what anyone may say, this fact cannot be denied. What's going on at the prosecutor's office? They might have sent an innocent man to death. How can he just stand there like it wasn't his fault? Order! 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 The gavel's pounding fell on deaf ears. Unable to settle the crowd, the judge declared a recess. Where this trial is headed, no one knows. It's making quite a scandal, though. But this is the last stretch. Who am I going to talk to here? The defendant? Ah no, Edgeworth. Sorry, Edgeworth. I didn't mean to get you in trouble. Don't worry about it. This is my problem, not yours. Hope I'm not interpreting anything, pals. Oh, guess I am. I'll come back later. Wait, Detective Gumshoe, what is it? This is a repeat of what happened before. You've got a lot of nerve, pal, making the detective run around all around while on duty. And to top it off, you call me here. I've seen happier people at funerals. I take it Lana is having you run errands again. Let me tell you, this is the last time, pal. Here. She asked me to give this to you if there was a break into this trial. Evidence law? Edgeworth was talking about this just the other day. You must know the two rules of evidence law. Rule number 1. No evidence shall be shown without the approval of police department. So, even if some of the evidence was forged, the police department is responsible too because they gave their approval. Is that right, Mr. Wright? It seems so. You could at least study some evidence law, really. Chief Prosecutor also wanted me to give you a message. A message? She said if you're planning to take him on, you're going to need this book. Him? I guess I'll need to give this book a thorough read. Ah, but it's not in my... Ah, now it is, okay. Evidence law securely slipped into pockets. Doesn't look like that book will do you any good now, though. All that's left now is the Chief Prosecutor's sentence. That's where you're wrong, Detective. Huh? Haven't you figured it out yet? Yeah, hold on a second. Let me have a look at this, because I'm curious. No evidence shall be shown without the approval of the police department. Unregistered evidence presented must be relevant to the case on trial. Why I'm still sitting in that prosecutor's seat, despite all these allegations being thrown at me, Mr. Edgeworth? The real trial today hasn't begun yet. What? What else is there left to do? Your credibility has been all but ruined with this forged evidence you were unaware of. Emma Skye found out she unwittingly caused the man's death. And now you're telling me you want to do more? You've got to be kidding me, pal. You're missing the point, Detective. Lana didn't murder Detective Goodman. She merely stuck a knife into his dead body. That means the real killer is still out there. What? And we're going to expose him, no matter what it takes. This case has hurt too many people. It's time to bring it to an end. Court will now reconvene for the trials of Miss Lana Skye. Mr. Edgeworth. Yes, Your Honor. The inquiry committee is planning to impose harsh penalties for your actions. I don't care one bit. That kind of bow. Thank you for the news, Your Honor. Yes, well, normally this is where the prosecution calls forth a witness, but, this isn't easy to say. You see, there is some concern that you, Mr. Edgeworth, may have, struck a bargain? Do you think I may have manipulated the witnesses? I didn't say that. It's just, you see, everyone has been talking, and... Very well, Your Honor. I have a solution. A solution? That being the case, the prosecution will allow the defense to call forth all further witnesses. But there's no precedence to what you're proposing. Undeniably, this is an unusual arrangement, but a very effective one. It would prove that I haven't struck any deals with the witnesses. Well, Mr. Wright, what do you say? Unbelievable. Edgeworth has found a way to continue the trial. Very well. The defense accepts the prosecution's proposal. Then it's settled. The defense may now call forth the next witness, Mr. Wright. You do realize this is your last chance. If you call the wrong witness, this trial is as good as over. The defense calls... The time's finally come to bring out the real murderer. Take that! Damon Gant. Defense calls Damon Gant to the stand. What does he have to do with anything? As the defendant's partner 2 years ago, Mr. Gant has first-hand knowledge of the crime. I feel we should hear what he has to say about it. As luck would have it, he should still be in the courthouse. He would also be the least likely to have been manipulated by me in any way. Wouldn't you agree, Your Honor? True. Alright. Bailiff, please escort Mr. Gant to the stand. Witness, please state your name and occupation. What is this, some kind of practical joke? I was just on my way to lunch. Your name and occupation, sir. Worthy, are you sure you want to do this? Your name and occupation. So you want to play hardball, eh? Please, Mr. Gant. Fine. My name is Damon Gant. I'm the acting chief of police. Now then, Chief Gant, the court requests to hear your testimony. Oh, righto. What's with the grim face? First, let's clear up this SL9 incident. Oh, you mean that time when Lana's sister murdered that prosecutor? Personally, I think it's been made pretty clear already. There are still some things unaccounted for. Oh, like what? Like the role you played in all of this. Son, either you're very brave or very foolish. You are aware, of course, that the police chief has all kinds of weapons at his disposal. Weapons? Sure, take my testimony for example. I don't have to give it if I don't want to. What? Is that true? I'm afraid so. The chief of police has the right to refuse to testify. Of course, such an action carries with it certain risks. Don't worry, I'm not here to hinder your trial. Just remember, if this turns out to be a big waste of time, don't say I didn't warn you. Very well, the witness may now begin his testimony. As I recall, Neil and I were questioning him that day. To make a long story short, we slipped up. That power outage didn't help either. When I went to my office, I found Lana there. Apparently she had already arranged the crime scene. As you can see, I had nothing to do with the forgery. Is that when Dark was arrested? Yeah. He was lying on the floor unconscious. When Emma sent Neil flying, it seems Dark bumped his head. I see. Everything seems pretty clear-cut. If the police chief has the right to refuse to testify, then I'd better hit him hard and fast. It's about the thing he says about not having anything to do with the forgery. You had to have something to do with the forgery. No, that's not it. Hold on a minute. But yes, you had to have something to do with it, because no evidence can be shown without the approval of the police department, so you had to give your approval for the pieces of evidence. Well, you did hide part of the evidence also, so... Yeah. You claim you had nothing to do with the forgery, but I'm afraid that is a claim you cannot back up. Explain yourself. Several pieces of evidence were found in your office. Take this list, for example. That's the list Emma Sky drew her picture on. This was discovered in your desk. Not only that, but a piece of this jar was sitting in your office. It was found inside your safe. Was found where? You see, Chief Gant, these articles of evidence uncovered in your office are both concrete proof that you also played a part in the illegal investigation. Chief Gant, what's the meaning of this? Oh, here's a defense attorney who may even rival Worthy. So you admit to it then, that you were involved in forgery. Who, me, or do you mean you? Me? Why would I have anything to do with that? Well, you were the one who snuck into my office when you found this evidence. Prosecutors aren't... Ah, shit, I pressed the button too quickly. Defense attorneys can do so too, isn't that right? Righto. However, Detective Gumshoe was present during the investigation. Worthy, my boy. Not even detectives are exempt from the law. Rest assured, Dick will receive his due punishment. Ah, yeah, he's accusing me of forging these pieces of evidence. Yeah, okay. What? Detective Gumshoe's salary drops any further, he'll end up paying to work. Yes, well, in light of the detective's presence, please give us your testimony regarding these pieces of evidence found in your office, and their relation to the forgery that took place at the crime scene. My, kids these days no longer know how to put two and two together. Let's see, what was it now? A jar fragment and a list? For all I know, you could have planted them in my office. Anyway, you can't prove when those pieces of evidence were discovered. If they were found after Dark was convicted, then they're worthless. There's no reason I'd participate in the forgery. Rearranging the crime scene wouldn't help me out in any way. Mr. Wright. Yes, Your Honor? When investigating the crime scene, you should have been more careful to observe protocol. You do understand that I am the chief of police, right? There will be consequences. Oh. Indeed, I believe I will press charges so you won't make the same mistake again. My apologies, Chief, but would you mind waiting until tomorrow for that? Today is, well, you know. Alright, Aji, in return, though. I know, that place, right? Huh? What are these guys? Telepathic? Well, one of the pieces of evidence, the jar fragment, the blood hadn't been wiped away on that fragment alone, but it was on the others. So that's proof, right? I should think so. Right? Wait. Is it a specific piece of evidence, or is it the jar that I have to show? No, I think it's the jar. No? No, okay, no, it's not. I know where the contradiction lies, but I don't know how to showcase it in a way that the game is programmed for me to do so. Here, maybe? Or should I press it? No, I think I should press for more details before I show anything. It's not gonna work just like that. I have to press for more details first. What do you mean by that? This is all purely hypothetical, of course, but suppose I did place those items in my safe. Such an act wouldn't necessarily constitute forgery. Conceding evidence found at a crime scene isn't forgery. I'm not through speaking yet, Righto. It all depends on when the evidence was discovered. If they were found after Dark was convicted, then they're worthless. Are you saying this jar fragment wasn't discovered in the initial investigation? It would appear not, after all it wasn't listed in the evidence list. For all we know, it could have suddenly materialized the day after Dark was sentenced. Oh, and wouldn't that be convenient? Right. Chief is talking about a possibility so long as you can't rule that out. Your remarks, however clever they may be, will only succeed in wasting time. Tell me something I don't know? Come now, Righto. Think about it. How can you look me in the eye and say that? Because I'm innocent. Remember? Who was it that murdered Neil? I'm not sure I care for the word murder here. But in the end, the person responsible for Mr. Marshall's unfortunate demise was Emma Skye. Well, now do you see? Or maybe this is... It's the final parts of the game, so obviously... the contradictions are not good that you're supposed to press on are not going to be obvious. Or is this it? No? Ah! I should have saved before because now I haven't pressed on those two other things. Well, let's press on that one. Really, Chief Gant? At the very least, there is one very large benefit you've reaped from all this. Oh, I wasn't aware was... What is this benefit? That would, of course, be the position you have, Chief of Police. Oh, the resolution of the SM9 incident secured your promotion to Chief. That in itself is sufficient motive. Aha, I'm onto something here. Oh, that's a good one. Huh? Do you really think I'm that incompetent? What do you mean? Even without that case, I was already in line to become the next chief. The resolution of SL9 merely sped up the inevitable a little. Is that true, Edgeworth? Yes, he was going to be the chief anyway. Be careful when pointing that finger, or you might wind up being the one pointed at. So that means there is only one possible motivation for you to commit forgery. If you didn't do it for yourself, then you did it for someone else. Don't be silly, Worthy. You know me better than that. There are only 3 people I look out for. Me, myself, and I. There, it's out in the open now. Gee, would you mind if I change my testimony a little? By all means, please do. Okay. Well, I'm moving forward with this. I wouldn't be anyone's accomplice if there was nothing in it for me. What if I can prove that there was something in it for him? I keep wanting to present this everywhere he says something. No evidence shall be shown without the approval of the police department. I keep coming back to this, but it's never the right thing. It goes somewhere, but it's not here. Nothing in it for you. Sorry, but the only person I care about is yours truly. That girl, Lana's little sister, was it? If you think I felt sorry for her, you'd better think again. You're right, you don't feel sorry for anyone. Be tough on crime and tough on people, that's how I was raised. You seem to be lax enough on yourself, though. Oh, that's a good one, Worthy. Could there have been something in it for him? Given his selfishness, would he have helped someone out? Oh, that book's cover. Is that a duck with a hat? I love it. Is it? If I want to check it, I can't see it. Yeah, I suppose it is. It's, oh, wait. Oh, shit. I guess it's, I'd say it's a chick wearing, a Sherlock Holmes kind of hat and with a pipe and holding a pipe. Something like that. That's what it looks like to me. Yeah, well, anyway. A detective chick, yeah. Hi, Arby. True, you might not help out anyone for their sake, but if it would benefit you, you might decide to assist someone. Hello, hello. Mr. Wright, it appears you're positively determined to portray the chief as a nice man who likes to lend people a hand. That's not what I mean. Very well then, who is this person you believe Chief Gant may have helped to forge evidence? For me, it's obvious.
Take that!
Chief Prosecutor Lana Sky, the defendant. I believe it's quite obvious in light of the circumstances. Emma Sky fell victim to an unfortunate series of events. Who would want to help her more than her own sister Lana? And as for Chief Gant, he would also have a reason to help Lana if she asked him to. That reason, of course, is self-profit. Self-profit? What do you mean? After the SM9 incident was resolved, Lana Sky was appointed Chief Prosecutor at the Prosecutor's Office. The person who arranged this job change was you, Chief Gant. But how would you profit from all this? You would be able to use the Chief Prosecutor as his puppet. Essentially, you would acquire unchecked authority over all investigations. Do you mean to tell me that despite the Chief's formidable appearance, he plays with puppets? Oh, wait. You must mean puppet as in someone forced to do his bidding. Never mind. Admit it, Chief. You assisted Lana Sky in forging evidence. Your motive? To appoint her as Chief Prosecutor so you could control her. Right, oh my boy. You have quite an imagination. Let me ask you something. What? Do you have any proof of this? That I controlled Lana? For example, is Lana testifying that I've done such a thing? Lana, she's keeping quiet to protect Emma. There's no way she'd testify against Gant. I'm afraid without any proof, this all amounts to nothing more than mere conjecture. Unless that is also what happened in this incident. This incident? Which one would that be? Of course I'm talking about the murder of Detective Bruce Goodman. Chief Prosecutor has been acting strange throughout this entire trial. Almost as if someone has been controlling her. Worthy, you'd better watch your tongue. I wouldn't want you to get hurt. Just what do you mean? What he means, Your Honor, is that the Chief Gant is involved in the murder of Detective Goodman. Not only that, but the Chief is now making Lana take the rap to cover up his involvement. What? Order, I said, oh yeah, okay, yeah, whatever, yeah, he likes to say that. Mr. Wright, you can't be serious. This is an affront to the highest ranking officer in a law enforcement agency. To accuse the chief of police of blackmail and murder, that's impossible. I think he was onto him. Goodman knew that there was something wrong with the SL9 incident. I think. Your Honor, I was merely reiterating that what Mr. Edgeworth said in easier to understand language. It's too late, Mr. Wright. There is no turning back for us now. It looks like he's the one who's decided to go through with this. Can you prove this, Mr. Wright, that the chief, a high-ranking officer of the law, is involved in this murder? Good question. Regardless of his rank or title, Chief Gant is just a man. The question is he a criminal? I believe the evidence will tell. I see. Alright then, let's see what Mr. Wright's got, and it better be good. Ah, shoot, I wanted to save before this. Chief ties Chief Gant to the murder of Detective Goodman. Hold on a second. Oh, I can't check the evidence list to see if the knife was on it? No, that can't be this. Uh. Geez, I'm not sure. How can I tie him to this? This has been in my file since the beginning, and I haven't found a single use for it. I don't know. I don't know what I'm supposed to present. I don't know. This. So long as Wright here is tossing out things regardless of their relevance. Mind if I toss something too, Haji? This shoe should do nicely. I'll chuck it right at you. You always were quite a joker, weren't you? I'm going to save here because I didn't save right before showing this one. This one is going to make me lose points, but... Don't oops me. Maybe this boot to the head will knock some sense into you. I know it's hard with all that's gone on during the trial. But try to think back to what happened in the evidence room 4 days ago. Now that he mentions it, we did find something during yesterday's investigation. Something that proves Gent entered that room. Ah, yeah, okay, no, yeah, okay. I've got it. Yeah, I've got it. This one. This is the ID card list. Yes, the one that shows who entered the evidence room on the day of the crime. There was one ID on the list we couldn't determine the owner of yesterday. 7777777. Sorry, but there's no way you can prove that's my card number. It's your number. What? How do you know that? The safe in Chief Gant's office requires a code to open. A 7-digit code. 7 digits. You don't mean... I'm afraid so, Your Honor. The code was 7 times 7, if you prefer. The same as the remaining ID card number on that list. He's gonna go, like, well, you can't prove that this is my ID card number. It could be just a coincidence, but that would be one heck of a coincidence, you don't think? He entered the evidence room on the day of the crime. Order! Order! Chief Gant, what do you have to say? Nothing. The defense's search of my office was in violation of regulations, and I will demand Mr. Wright be punished to the maximum extent of the law. But right now, this court demands an explanation from you. How about the use of this ID card? Chief Gant, so you admit it. You entered the evidence room on the day of the crime. What about it? I'm chief of police. Whether it's the evidence room or the bathroom, what's the difference? I can go anywhere I want. Tell me, when you entered the room, were you alone? I always go to the bathroom alone, as I do with the evidence room. Detective Goodman wouldn't have happened to be with you that day, would he? Of course not. Why would he be? I hadn't seen him in days. You hadn't seen him in days, Chief Gant? I'm afraid you've just undone yourself. On that day, you had to have met with Detective Goodman. What do you mean? This trial's purpose is to determine Lana Sky's guilt. No, it isn't, Your Honor. This trial's purpose is to determine the truth. If Chief Gant met the victim on the day of the crime, then we need to determine one thing. What transpired during that meeting? In that case, Mr. Wright, I'm going to have to ask you for evidence. Show us proof that the victim went to meet Chief Gant on the day of the crime. Heck if I know! Can only be submitted to the Chief of Police. That's the one. The lost item report. Detective Goodman lost his ID card on the day of the crime. Or to be more accurate, Jake Marshall stole it. So Detective Goodman filled out a lost item report. He would have had to give that report to the Chief of Police. Yet you are in possession of the report, which means you can't be sure if he filed it. He filed it? How do I know, you ask? Because he needed to enter the evidence room that day. He needed to? Yes, to transfer the evidence out. Oh. Detective Goodman took the form to you, Chief Gant. Then, you accompanied the detective to the evidence room. I accompanied him? There was no other way the murderer and Detective Goodman could have entered the room. Hold on, let me guess what you're going to say next. I, the Chief of Police, murdered poor Goodman. Exactly. But wait, the chief didn't necessarily need to accompany him to the evidence room. He could have just lent him his ID card. Yes, now that you mention it. Yeah, right. Sorry, but that's not possible. According to the record, your card was only used once. Yet you showed us your ID card earlier. If you had really lent it to Detective Goodman, it would have been found on his body. No! Chief Gant, you didn't. The murder was most likely a spur-of-the-moment crime for no one in their right mind would choose the police department as a place to commit murder. After the murder, you contacted Lana at the prosecutor's office. Why? To dispose of Detective Goodman's body, of course. You're forgetting, Mr. Wright, that the victim's body was discovered in the prosecutor's office parking lot. How did he manage to move it there? I was at the police department the entire day, you know, and everyone's aware that Lana stayed at the prosecutor's office after the ceremony. Everyone except me, it seems. Still, you're the Chief of Police. You have an entire police force at your disposal. Oh, so you think I just ordered an officer to do it? Hey, you, take this here dead body over to the prosecutor's office. I don't think so. Chief Gant, you left all the evidence we need to prove how you moved the body to the prosecutor's office. And all this time, I thought it was a useless clue just taking up space. The screwdriver! How could the chief have moved the body? Mr. Wright, show us this evidence. To move the victim's body, Chief Gant used this. A pretext for Edgeworth to come to the police department with his car and then go back to the prosecutor's office with the body in the trunk of the car. This is how we moved Detective Goodman's body. What's that? A screwdriver? But what does that have to do with this case? Mr. Edgeworth, think back to the day of the crime. What is this screwdriver doing here? It's here because... I was asked to go, by Chief Gant no less. He told me he wanted me to keep it here in the prosecutor's office. In any case, on the day of the stabbings, I brought this back here. After the ceremony ended that day, I didn't plan to return to the prosecutor's office. But you did, because Chief Gant asked you to. You mean I was used? The body was found in the trunk of Mr. Edgeworth's car. I think it's obvious what happened. The body was moved by that car. Detective Goodman's body was carried in the trunk of Mr. Edgeworth's car? Yes, unless of course you have another explanation, Chief. Why else would you have asked Mr. Edgeworth to transport evidence from a closed case? There's only one plausible explanation: to transport the body to your accomplice, Miss Lana Sky. Order! What's going on here? Is there no room for rebuttal to the defense's outrageous accusations? Think back to the photograph Miss Starr took at the prosecutor's office. This was not a photo of the body being stuffed in the trunk to be taken away. It was exactly the opposite. It's a photo of the body being taken from the trunk. Chief Gant, please say something. I believe. Your time's up. What time's up? Sorry, Rido, but I'm having lunch with the District Attorney General after this. We have to get going for her to make it in time for the early bird special. But the cross-examination isn't finished yet. Remember what I told you earlier. A police chief has all kinds of weapons at his disposal. Weapons like the right to refuse to testify. I'm invoking that right now. What? That is not a right to be casually invoked. There are certain risks to be considered. So you're going to just run away after all this? Run away? Don't make me laugh, Worthy. I stabbed old Goodman. That's what you're saying, right? But if you had any conclusive evidence, you would have presented it by now. Well, You think I had Lana dispose of the body? If so, then show your proof and get it over with. I'll say it again, Mr. Wright. Damon Gant is the current chief of police. This court will not tolerate any accusations against him without concrete proof. Well, Mr. Wright? Your Honor, do you have any concrete proof? Let me save. Because I don't know if I have. Do I have that? Do I have any concrete proof? I don't think I do. It's no use showing evidence I'm not even sure of myself. No, Your Honor. At present, I have no conclusive evidence. See ya, G? In that case, this court is forced to penalize you for your allegations against the chief. What? Here's a tip. Never gamble what you can't afford to lose, Righto. It seems that Lady Luck was on my side again today. Okay, G. I'll leave the rest to you. And he leaves. Should I have forced it anyway? I warned you earlier, Mr. Wright. This is an affront to a senior officer in our nation's law enforcement agency. What? Objection! Lady Luck. Maybe we should have a word with her. Mr. Edgeworth, what do you mean? There's one lady who knows the real truth behind this trial. We haven't yet had the honor of hearing her testimony. A lady who knows the truth? Another witness? In the absence of conclusive evidence, the only other method of proof is testimony. But Chief Gant has invoked his right to refuse to testify. There's still someone else, one more witness who can answer all the questions raised in this trial. Someone right in this very room. Who? Yeah, who? Why are you asking me, Your Honor? Have you forgotten? The defense is the one calling witnesses today. Mr. Wright, does such a witness exist? She may not be willing to tell the truth, but we can't just stop now. Yes, Your Honor. The defense calls for her, I guess. Who else could that be? The defendant, Miss Lana Sky, she was in the underground parking lot at 5:15 p.m. on February 21st. Her task, to dispose of the victim's body, in accordance with a certain someone's orders. Mr. Edgeworth, the prosecution has no objections, Your Honor. Very well, the court will now take its final recess for the day. In 15 minutes, we will reconvene to hear the defendant's testimony. This court is now in Hold on, huh? Chief Gant, I thought you were going to eat. Listen good, Lana. He's talking to Lana. I don't think you need me to tell you this, but if you accept Mr. Wright's claims, there will be terrible consequences. He's openly threatening the defendant in court. What more proof do you need that this guy is a crook? That's right, your sister will be found guilty for Neil Marshall's murder. Ah, this isn't good. Of course, you'd never support such outrageous claims anyway, right? Just something to think about. Alright then, I've got a lunch date to meet. Okay, if there aren't any further objections, this court is now in recess. Oh boy. Looks like we managed to stay in the game. Yeah, thanks to your help, Edgeworth. What is being played for a fool too, so... That chief, he's something else, hey pals? Detective Gumshoe? I'm not a detective anymore. Oh yeah, sorry about that. Don't worry, I've already decided where to work now. It's your office. My office? Sure. I'll take the place of that top-knotted girl you used to work with. Could he mean... Maya? Still, looks like we're all out of moves now. Chief Gant's done it again. How is it he always gets the upper hand? It's not fair he has the right to refuse to testify. Settle down, Wright. Remember what the judge said. But Chief, this is not a right to be casually invoked. There are certain risks to be considered. Risks? What did he mean by that? It's simple. If the chief refuses to testify, the opposite also holds true. You mean he forfeits his right to say anything too? Emma, are you okay? Yeah, when I came to, I was in the medical office. I've been listening to the trial from the gallery. So she heard everything that's been going on. Emma, I'm sorry for what I said before. No, don't be. It was the truth. You know, it's funny. I almost feel somehow relieved. Relieved? Yeah. Now I finally know what really happened. To think that all this time, my sister was being blackmailed by that terrible man. And she did it all just to protect me. Ever since her appointment as chief prosecutor, everyone who knew her said she changed. Perhaps it was easier that way for her. What do you mean? What do you think I mean? To follow Chief Gant's orders. She must have shut herself up deep inside, to force herself to do anything and everything the chief told her to do. That must be why she became so cold. It was all my fault. It's all because I murdered Mr. Marshall. Hey, don't go blaming yourself now. If you want to blame anyone, blame society, pal. Chief Gant may be able to fool everyone else with his forgery, but he can't fool my memory. I remember now. I knocked Mr. Marshall into that armor. I see. Well, we'd better get back. It's time for the final act. Emma, why don't you wait? No, I'm going with you. I want to be there when Lana tells the truth. I don't know that she will. Let's go, Wright. It's time to end this. Yeah, this is the real final stretch, I think. It should be, anyway. Trial Ladder 2, yeah. Yeah, it's much longer than the others. Now then, will the defendant, Miss Lana Sky, please take the stand? Miss Lana Sky, you are the chief prosecutor. I'm sure you're aware of what is required of you. But Mr. Edgeworth, you already know everything. You know all that I have done these past 2 years. Please provide the court with your testimony, Miss Sky. And remember, you're under oath. We want to hear the truth. Of course, the truth. Lana, no matter what happens, I'll always be your sister. Now then, your testimony, if you will. First, tell us about your relationship with Chief Gant. Everything hinges on your testimony. You're the only chance we have to get Gant. I worked alongside Gant for years. There's no truth to this blackmail theory. I fabricated the evidence 2 years ago all by myself. When I found Prosecutor Marshall's body, I rearranged the crime scene. My only motivation was to get Dark convicted. It has nothing to do with Emma. Are you sure about this testimony? Your Honor, I'm confessing to a capital offense. Of course I'm sure. But Lana, if this is true, then that means Chief Gant has nothing to do with this. That's what I've been telling you from the beginning. Please, Mr. Wright, you've got to help her. She's sacrificing herself because of me. But what if she's telling the truth? She's not. I know my own sister. Whenever she speaks stiffly like that, she's hiding something inside. Deep down, she's really screaming in agony. Yeah, this is no time to start second-guessing myself. The defense may now begin its cross-examination. Let me save again. There is no truth to this blackmail theory. I fabricated the evidence 2 years ago all by myself. Hold on. I'm trying to find the right spot to present what I have in mind. There's no truth to this blackmail theory. No evidence shall be shown without the approval of the police department. But who is supposed to give approval? Is it the chief of police? Or can that be just any cop?
Objection!
No, okay, no. That doesn't work. Yeah, because she was a police representative herself, so... Okay, well, let's press her on everything then, as usual. How many years exactly? Ever since I made senior detective, let's see, I was 24, so that would be 5 years. Detective Gant and Detective Sky were legendary partners. I personally saw them testify in numerous cases. She must have been good coming from the same school as Mia. Damon Gant was a respectable detective, that's why... There's no truth to this blackmail theory. But think about it, Miss Sky. You didn't murder Detective Goodman. You told me as much yesterday in jail. You still don't get it, do you, Mr. Wright? Any testimony you cannot present in court is as useless as idle gossip. I stabbed Detective Goodman with a knife. And I fabricated the evidence 2 years ago all by myself. Did you do so to help your sister? Joe Dark was a serial killer. My sister almost became his last victim that day. I didn't want that incident to ruin her life. But what she did was justifiable self-defense. She wouldn't have been charged with anything. That's not the point. She was traumatized that day, all because of that creep. That's why I couldn't forgive him. Lana, so that's why you fabricated the evidence 2 years ago. When I found Prosecutor Marshall's body, I rearranged the crime scene. You say you did this all by yourself? Yes. Would you mind telling us what you found when you arrived at the crime scene? It seems I was the first person to discover the scene. The broken prosecutor award knife was stuck in the victim's body. What? But Prosecutor Marshall died from an unfortunate accident. That's only a situation you dreamed was possible. The reality is, it wasn't my sister who took the prosecutor's life. Fantasize all you want, Mr. Wright, but I'll never change the statement. You mean Prosecutor Marshall wound up being killed by Dark? Something like that. If that is so, what happened to the other murder weapon? Dark was carrying a switchblade knife. Oh, that was lying on the floor a little distance away. It was probably knocked away in the struggle. That's not how it went down. She's trying to cover up our lies with more lies. All just to protect me. So when you found a scene like this, what did you do? After all, this is what everything boils down to, yes? I broke off the tip of Dark's knife and planted it inside the wound, then moved the body. Do I have that piece of evidence? No, I don't. I don't have it. You planted the tip of Dark's, yeah, and then you moved the body? But why? Why would you do that? You of all people should know, Edgeworth. You've always had a good head on your shoulders. My head isn't that bad, but maybe I ought to ask for the sake of others. But why did you do that? Come now, Mr. Wright, even you should be able to figure it out. Very well, let's add this to the witness's testimony. The reason Miss Guy fabricated the knife. I knew the tip of the weapon found buried in his body would be all the proof we needed. My only motivation was to get Dark convicted. It had nothing to do with Emma. Yeah, can I get her to add the other parts to her testimony about moving the body? When you showed up on the scene, where exactly was the victim's body? It was where he deduced it was by Chief Gant's desk. Yeah, but why would it need to be... Oh, yeah, because to get it away from the suit of armor, maybe. But the body was found by your desk. Why did you move it there? The reason for that is simple. Ah, that changes her testimony. You can only have one or the other. Okay. So you have to pick between one and the other. Pieces of the jar that shattered during the events threatened my plan. How so? Pieces of the jar? You mean... Yes, that wretched jar you showed us earlier. In order to show that Drake committed the crime, I felt it would be more expedient to move the body. So when you first found the body, the jar was already... Of course, it had already been shattered to pieces. If you looked at the crime scene, it would be clear right away what happened. Neil Marshall was dead, and Dark was lying unconscious. In other words, the jar must have been broken during their struggle. If the pieces of the jar were on the ground, and the guy was already impaled on the spear like that, how could he reach on the ground like that to go and scribble the name of Emma on the pieces of the shattered jar on the floor? It's impossible. How could he unhang himself from being impaled on the suit of armor like this? That doesn't make any sense. Apparently the jar shattered at the time the crime was committed, but I have a feeling there is more to it than that. Yeah, me too, Emma. There must be a contradiction here somewhere. Yep, there is. Anyway, I committed this fabrication completely alone. That's impossible. They were in his safe. Yeah. Miss Guy, I understand how you feel. You committed that crime 2 years ago to protect your sister. You mean the forgery at the scene where Neil Marshall was murdered. If that truth were to be exposed now, the past 2 years of your life would have been in vain. Even so, I am compelled to bring to everyone's attention a significant contradiction within your testimony. A contradiction in my testimony? You testified, and I quote, "The pieces of the jar that shattered during the events threatened my plan." That's right. Do you have a problem with that? It's a simple oversight, really. You see, a message was written on this jar with the victim's blood. Yes, the prosecutor must have written it in his final moments, but that's not possible. Exactly so. And this is where the contradictions lie. In order for the victim to be able to write his message on the jar, it must not yet have been broken before he died. Ah, that's also true. Yeah, I didn't think of that. He couldn't have written Emma's name on a shattered jar. Yeah, indeed. Order! Order! Your Honor, it would appear more information is needed in regard to this jar and its bloody message. Well, we may be missing something critical here. Something critical? Chief Prosecutor, it seems you're as in the dark as we are about the truth towards which we're headed. What? Just tell us exactly what you saw. We'll piece together the information to arrive at the truth. Very well, the witness may now continue her testimony. Jar and message in blood. I immediately noticed the blood traces on the jar, but it was dark in the room and I didn't have time to check it out. To be safe, I wiped away the blood. The fragments were large, so I'm sure I got them all. All I could think about was wiping them clean before they were discovered. You mean you were the one who wiped away the message in blood? I wasn't chief prosecutor at the time. She didn't think Dark was the real murderer. That's why she tried to erase the real evidence. Very well, the defense may now begin its cross-examination. I immediately noticed the blood traces on the jar, but it was dark in the room and I didn't have time to check it out. To be safe, I wiped away the blood. The fragments were large, so I'm sure I got them all. But she didn't, because there was a piece that was found in the safe. Yeah, the final fragment was found in the safe. I believe this jar conceals a truth even you were unaware of. What? We found the final piece of this jar in Chief Gant's safe. In the Chief's safe? But how? I knew it. She really didn't know. There's something even more disturbing about that final piece. There was still blood on it, but the witness just testified that she gathered every last piece and wiped the blood off of them. Yeah, so that means that that piece was collected on the scene of the crime before she could find them all and wipe the blood off of them. Which leaves us with only one explanation. On the night Prosecutor Marshall was murdered, you were not the first one to show up on the scene. Chief Gant got there before you. But couldn't the defendant have simply missed a piece? I'm afraid that's unlikely. The pieces are too big for anyone to miss, let alone an ace detective. That may well be, but everyone makes mistakes. Even I once wasted an entire day looking for my dentures. Have you forgotten, Your Honor? When this witness arrived at the scene, the jar was already broken. Oh, that. There's no way a name could have been written on the shattered jar. Another person discovered the scene prior to the witness. I hope you're not implying this person was Chief Gant at the time he was looking for Dark downstairs. Yeah. The question is, if he did arrive there first, why did he hide that fact for 2 years? Well, Your Honor, can you answer that as that? Even he is losing his mind. Wait, I'm not the one on trial here. Damon Gant arrived at the crime scene prior to the witness. He proceeded to break the jar. He proceeded and purposefully hid one of the broken pieces. Question: what is this action called? Fabrication of evidence. But why would Chief Gant do that? In light of what happened afterwards, isn't it clear what happened afterwards? Discovering the scene, Lana Skye believed her sister Emma killed the victim. Determined to help her sister, she sought Gant's aid. Lending her his aid, Gant helped her create evidence that incriminated Dark, sparing Emma. And therein lies the reason. The reason why Miss Skye became the Chief's puppet. Aha! No! I did it on my own. Please, sis, stop trying to protect the Chief. I can't watch you suffer anymore for my sake. No, you didn't. It wasn't you, Emma. You didn't kill anyone. You don't believe anything Mr. Wright says. Defense attorneys make up the most foul lies to defend their clients. Foul lies? Imagine that coming from my own client. I guess you do seem the type who likes to twist the truth. Wait a minute. What if we're still smack dab in the middle of Gant's trap? Is something wrong, Mr. Wright? Lana may be right after all. What do you mean, Mr. Wright? So you do tell foul lies then, Mr. Wright? Miss Skye, please testify once more. But if evidence was fabricated behind your back, then Emma's accidental killing of Prosecutor Marshall might also be a lie. But I do remember knocking over Mr. Marshall. Miss Skye, if you will. I can't. There's nothing to be afraid of anymore. This cross-examination may not change a thing. However, there is a possibility that it will if you tell the truth. Very well. I'll testify. about what I really saw. Alright, the witness may testify once more for the final time. Actual crime scene. When I arrived, I found Mr. Marshall's body impaled on that suit of armor sword. Emma and Dark were lying unconscious on the floor nearby. When I saw what happened, I thought she did it. That's why I erased all the evidence that linked her to the murder. I had Chief Gant help me remove the body from the sword and carry it. But if it all really was a fabrication, Emma might be innocent. Unbelievable. The body was impaled on the armor sword. You were the only one who saw that. If only you had proof. Actually, I do have proof. I gave it to Mr. Wright just this morning. What? To me? It's a picture I took of the crime scene as I encountered it. I thought it might be needed. But I don't remember receiving a picture like that. It's inside the book, isn't it? Lana must have known. See, Mr. Wright, she really does have faith in you. Very well, Mr. Wright. Please present this picture. I don't remember receiving any pictures from Lana. Lana said she gave it to you this morning, right? I seem to remember getting something from her then. Let's check that evidence again. There must be a picture in there somewhere. Is the picture that of the chick? Is that the thing? Oh, Pio! Pio, Pio. What? What is it? Zoom out. I just want to open the book. Where is that picture? Oh, okay, there it is. Hey, there's a picture here. Oh my, this is the actual crime scene. No other detective saw the crime scene like this. Because I contacted criminal affairs only after I had rearranged everything. Mr. Wright, that piece cut out from his vest, could that be? The cloth we found inside Chief Gant's safe. What's this? Yeah, this is handprint, isn't it? That cloth, it had fingerprints on it. Whoever's fingerprints those are must be the real murderer. What? But those fingerprints... But wait, the piece of cloth had already been cut off by someone when that picture was taken. So it's quite possible that the piece of cloth could have been cut off from the vest that the guy was wearing, and since Emma was unconscious, her hand be pressed against it to get her handprints on it. Right? Since it was already cut off when she came in. That must mean that someone cut it off. Why are your lips turning all purple, Mr. Wright? Anyway, let's get on with the cross-examination. So long as you tell the truth, we should be able to flush out the real murderer. Very well. The defense may now begin its cross-examination. Oh. Come now, G. This is the poorest excuse for a trial I've ever seen. Chief Gant, what? Now you want to make me out as the bad guy too? If so, I'd like to put in a word or two in my defense. I'm afraid it's too late for that. What? You already declined to testify. That means you forfeited your right to make statements of any sort. This must be that risk we were talking about earlier. Just sit back, relax, and enjoy the sound of the noose tightening around your own neck. Excellent. So what? You think I'm worried? Sorry to disappoint you, but I don't need to make any statements. What do you mean? The evidence will do all the talking for me. Even if I can't testify, I can still present evidence. Yes, that's true. Wait, you mean you still have some conclusive evidence? No, I don't, but someone does. Someone? So, yeah, he wants me to present the piece of evidence, isn't it? Why have you been keeping quiet about it? You do have something to show us, right? Something that proves who knocked over Neil Marshall, causing his death. Conclusive evidence that leaves no room for doubt. Is this true, Mr. Wright? If I show that piece of evidence now, Emma's sure to be made out as the murderer. Mr. Wright, if you have any more evidence, present it now. And if you try to conceal anything, you will be the one appearing before the Board of Inquiries. What do I do now? I'd better think this through carefully. I can't afford to make the wrong decision. Maybe this is where the... I know I keep wanting to press this anywhere I can. But the law of evidence, or the evidence law, or whatever. Doesn't it say something like some pieces of evidence cannot be accepted under certain circumstances? It's not been registered. Ah, wait. Yeah, not only... Well, it hasn't been approved by the police department, that piece of evidence. And we're not on the trial... on the trial of Emma, we're on the trial of Lana. Although, yeah, it's kind of relevant, yeah. So maybe it's Rule 1 that I have to invoke. The one that shows really... I cannot show it. It hasn't been approved by the police. I don't have any evidence I can present at this point in time. What? You lie. Chief Gant, you. You opened my safe. I know you took what was inside. The conclusive evidence. I don't know what you're talking about. Mr. Wright, why don't you show them? We found it together. Oh, I see. It's because you know the truth, don't you? You know whose fingerprints are on it. That's why you won't present it. What are you talking about, Chief Gant? Can't you figure it out? Take a good look at this picture. See the victim's vest? Notice anything odd about the chest area? It looks like part of it's been cut out for some reason. You mean you had this in your safe? Yeah, and it had been cut by someone at the scene of the crime before Lana arrived, right? I've been concealing evidence. This is going to be the biggest scandal in the history of the police department. Impressive. To be honest, I didn't think you had the gall, righto? Well, I can't just let you pin me up as the murderer. I'll tell you what really happened. What? You mean you admit to it? But I didn't lie about it. I can't present it. It hasn't been approved. I was the first person to arrive at the crime scene that day. It then occurred to me that I could use the situation to control Lana. So you really were manipulating her. I knew Lana. If I made it look like the blame lay with her sister, that when she saw the scene, she would ask me for my aid. So you assisted Miss Guy. I told her to arrange all the evidence. I had her plant the knife tip in the victim's body and move the body across the room. And I ended up using that evidence to get Joe Dart convicted. When I tampered with the crime scene, I hid 2 pieces of evidence. This was before Lana arrived at the scene, mind you. 2 pieces of evidence? You mean those items in your safe? But why? For insurance, of course. Insurance? I was sure my plan would work, but it's always best to be prepared for the worst. I wasn't about to let anyone blame me for a murder that girl committed. You mean you were calculating that far ahead while forging the evidence? What do you take me for? A fool? I didn't make police chief by dumb luck. See this jar fragment? I hid the most legible part of Emma's name. I didn't expect Lana to go and wipe the blood of all the pieces. But if you fabricated all the evidence, what's to say you didn't fabricate this message onto this jar too? Oh, ho, ho. Some people just don't know what to quit, do they? That's why I kept one more item for insurance. You mean that piece of cloth? Come on, Righto. Cough it up already. I know you have it. What are you waiting for, Mr. Wright? So you admit to it then, Chief Gant. That you were hiding the cloth you cut off the victim's vest in your safe. Yes, I admit it. I didn't want to have to do that, but being chief and all. But it's all a lot better than being portrayed as a murderer. What do you have to say for yourself? Just a moment ago, you said you didn't have any evidence you could present. Foolish move, Righto. You should have shown it then, before it was too late. It's been a long battle. But the moment of truth has finally arrived. As long as I don't mess up here, victory is mine. Cannot show it! No, it's too late to show the evidence now. Besides, even if I did, I'd just expose that poor girl's fingerprints. Right, think hard over the circumstances. The circumstances, I'm talking about then and now. There's one major difference between the two. Weren't you waiting for that difference? Edgeworth figured out my plan. But. This is the thing I want to present. Mr. Edgeworth, your opinion, please? I think Mr. Wright's humor has improved at the expense of his defense. Better polish up your defense. Yeah, but... Well, okay, I'll present it then, but... Yeah, it wasn't relevant before, but it is now. Maybe that's why? Let me verify this once more. On the day of the crime, you personally cut out this piece of the victim's vest. Oh yes, at last you finally brought it out into the open. There's a handprint on this piece of cloth. Your Honor, the prosecution requests that be immediately sent to the lab for analysis. This handprint on the leather, there must have been a strong impact for it to be left so clearly. You mean, it could not have been forged. It must be authentic, conclusive evidence. Oh, you're as slow on the uptake as ever, Worthy. What? Think about it. Righto had all this time to present this evidence. Yet he was reluctant to do so. Why would that be? You mean you already know? You know whose fingerprints are on that? Mr. Wright, do you really know? Whoever the fingerprints belong to must be the real murderer. Whose fingerprints are they? Very well. I'll tell you. He has an ID that I don't have myself, I must say. Alright, let's not lie then. Emma? Emma Sky? What? They're mine? I'm sorry, Emma. But why? Why didn't you tell me? You're really something, Righto. You knew this girl did it all along, and you still tried to pin the murder on me. So it's true. Tragic, but true. This girl really did shove Prosecutor Marshall to his death. How could you, you monster? Miss Guy, you knew whose fingerprints those were all along, yet you acted like she really didn't. Miss Guy, it's not over yet. What? I said this trial isn't over yet. Ha, but I'm afraid it is over, boy. Not only this trial, but your career too. You purposely concealed this conclusive evidence. That, my friend, is a serious offense. I'm looking forward to pressing charges after the defendant is convicted. I'll have your badge, boy. What's the matter? Cat got your tongue? Aren't you going to tell us how it feels? How it feels to be the one who single-handedly turned the poor little girl into a murderer? Before I do that, there's just one little thing I have to clear up. Oh, and what's that? Who really killed Prosecutor Neil Marshall? What? Chief Gant, you are absolutely right. This piece of cloth proves who the real murderer is. Who killed Neil Marshall, you ask? It was a Maskai, wasn't it? I'm afraid that's not possible. You see, this piece of cloth contains a critical contradiction. What? A contradiction? What is this fool babbling about? I'm talking about a contradiction, one that proves who the real killer is. Mr. Wright, this piece of cloth, what could it possibly contradict? Chief Gant, your tyrannical reign ends here. Behold, the piece of evidence that contradicts this cloth. Can't be this. If it had been cut off, the fact that there's no blood on it, maybe? But that the blood was spit out after the piece of cloth had been cut? Ah, yeah, I get it now. It didn't die from being impaled on this. He died from that knife thing, and then he was put on the spear to make it appear as though he died from this. Isn't it? That's it, right? Yeah, present this.
Take that!
And what exactly is this supposed to be? This is the picture Miss Guy took. Take a good look at it. And he doesn't know about it. He didn't know about the picture. So he didn't count on this. That's the part of his plan that he didn't, like, plan ahead. He didn't plan on that picture existing at all. So where the piece of his vest was cut out, yes. His shirt is showing underneath. It's hard to make out with all the blood on his vest, though. Exactly my point. His chest is soaked with blood. That's only natural. His lungs, no doubt, were punctured, blood poured out of his mouth. Oh, but that piece of cloth. Wait. There's no blood on it. Ah! Since Emma Sky's fingerprints are on this cloth, there is no doubt that she shoved the prosecutor aside. However, Mr. Marshall was not impaled on the sword at that time. No, this is nonsense. Now then, Chief Gantz, let me ask you something. Prosecutor Marshall was not impaled when he was shoved aside. He most likely hit his head on the ground and was knocked out. If so, then tell me, who could it have been? Who could have arrived at the scene before Miss Lana Sky, picked up the unconscious prosecutor, and impaled him on the armor's sword? Then, to make it look like Emma was responsible for the prosecutor's death, said person proceeded to write her name on the jar with the victim's blood. A jar that they then broke on purpose to leave behind a clue. And Nicola, and I believe her sister, did it. Remember what you admitted only moments ago, that you personally cut out this bloodless piece of the victim's vest. Ironic, isn't it? Through the very act of creating insurance, you proved that you were the actual murderer. No! It's finally over. Or is it? Or is it really? Oh. Hey. Hey. Oh, that was close, Rido. You almost had me. Yeah, I should have thought that it wouldn't be quite over yet. Sorry, but you'll have to do better than that. I refute your allegations. What do you mean you refute his allegations? You see, that piece of cloth is illegal evidence. Order! Order! What nonsense is this? Illegal evidence cannot be used to convince a suspect. Remember, Haji. Earlier, old Rido here concealed that piece of cloth. So then, what's your excuse, Rido? I want a reaction gif of this. Of this. Your Honor, I don't have any evidence I can present at this point in time. Well, that's true. The defense did refuse to present evidence. At that moment, that piece of cloth ceased to be legal evidence. But that's not fair. Oh, ho, ho, ho. Did you actually think you could best me in court? It looks like the last laugh's on you, Sound. I'm afraid Mr. Gant's claim is legally correct. Well, Mr. Edgeworth, true, illegal evidence cannot be used to convict a person, assuming, of course, that the evidence is indeed illegal. Well, Mr. Wright? It seems, at last, the time for me to reveal my plan has finally arrived. Mr. Wright, do you admit to it? That you purposefully and illegally concealed this piece of evidence? I did no such thing, Your Honor. I admit I refused to present it at one point. Aha, so the evidence is illegal.
Objection!
No, it isn't, Mr. Gant. Huh? It's not that I didn't present evidence then, it's that I couldn't. What do you mean you couldn't? There are certain procedures involved when presenting evidence. No, Aji, don't listen to his lies. He's nothing but a coward. You can't really believe. There is only one issue left to be resolved in this trial. Is this evidence legal or not? Very well, let's settle this once and for all. Earlier you refused to present evidence. If you can prove your conduct was not in violation of the law, then do so now. I tried to present this so many times, now has to be the right time.
Take that!
This is my proof, Your Honor. Evidence law. With that cute little chick on the cover. What's this? I've done my homework too, Chief. Indeed, Emma's guy's fingerprints were on this piece of cloth. However, at that point in time, this was merely a piece of cloth, nothing more. What? You see, it's written right here in this book. The second rule of evidence law. Rule number 1. No evidence shall be shown without your approval of the police department. I found this piece of evidence myself, inside your safe. It goes without saying I did not have approval from the police department. Rule number 2. Unregistered evidence presented must be relevant to the case on trial. And here's the crux of the matter. You see, at the time it was impossible for me to prove the relevance between the cloth and the SL9 incident. What? What kind of nonsense is this? You want relevancy? Just think what look at this picture and...
Objection!
Sorry, but can you recall when was that picture presented? That was shown only a few moments ago. No! He's right. At the beginning of today's trial, that piece of cloth was still meaningless. The person who gave it value as evidence was you, Damon Gant. Ugh. You yourself confessed to a certain truth. Let me verify this once more. On the day of the crime, you personally cut out this piece of the victim's vest. Oh, yes. No! It was then that you approved this cloth as conclusive evidence. Yes, you, the chief of police, personally approved this cloth. The only person who could have cut this from the victim's vest is the one who stood before Prosecutor Marshall in his final moments. In other words, the real murderer, and there was only one person who that could be. Damon Gant, the killer was you! Oh, he's losing it completely. That's GIF worthy as well. I knew I should have gotten rid of him. That good-for-nothing scum for 2 years has been snooping around the department trying to get something on me. Crimes are being committed every day, yet he insisted on hounding me. Well, your crime wasn't exactly petty. He wanted to reinvestigate the case. He recruited Angel Starr, then convinced Bruce Goodman. Detective Goodman? Yeah, that's right. If the evidence is transferred, I'll lose my only chance to find out the truth. Please, you've got to help me. Goodman turned him down, as he ought to. Still, Jake Marshall didn't know when to quit. He stole Goodman's ID card and tried to take the evidence. Goodman came to me that day. He wanted to file a lost item report. I went with him to the evidence room. Then all of a sudden, he decided to speak out. What are you talking about, Goodman? Can you please reopen the investigation, Chief? We can't transfer the evidence out. There are too many questions left unanswered. He opened his evidence locker. As he was taking the evidence out, he said, It's not too late. I'm going to hand all this over to Marshall. Well, to be honest, I was a bit taken aback by his words. I had a bad feeling when he came to see me, but I never thought he'd bring up SL9. That's when I saw it, the accursed knife. I couldn't just put it out. Doing so would have only led to more blood, making it near impossible to hide your crime. Even so, the blood was just pouring out. I didn't know who might stumble in, so I hurried to wipe it up. I was worrying so much about the floor I didn't realize my fatal mistake. The bloody handprint on Detective Gumshoe's locker. I used to be known as the crime computer, but everyone has to start somewhere, I guess. I was too nervous. I had no business doing any of it. Then you put the body in my car. I'm sorry, I couldn't think of any other way to move the body. I broke your trunk, but what's the big deal? You make a lot more to us than us detectives ever will. Grr. Leaving the prosecution's scar aside, how could you get Miss Sky involved in all of this? Well, she had as much to lose as I did if the truth came out. So you took the evidence from Detective Goodman's locker. I felt bad for having to do it. I also didn't have the time to pick and choose what to take. So, you left the jar fragments and the glove. Yeah. It looks like I was better off being an investigator of crimes than a committer. They all did their best to get in my way. I've got to hand it to them. They do their jobs well, much to my dismay. Fake evidence doesn't hold up very well upon close examination. You must have known that. Tell me, Worthy, why did you stand in court? Me? You despise criminals. You can feel it. You and me were the same. One day you'll understand. Oh, believe me, you will. You're just one man. You'll see what it really takes to bring them down once you try to go it alone. Well, looks like it's time to say goodbye. Oh, Udgy. What? Looks like we'll have to cancel that lunch date. Sorry, old friend. I'm sorry too, Damon Gant. I knew you as you used to be long ago. You were once a fine investigator and an example to others on the force. I'm sorry to learn that you are no longer that person. Those days are gone now, Udgy. Thanks for all the memories, though. Don't worry, you'll be fine. Now you have Wright here, and Worthy. With these two around, you can't go wrong. In fact, I can hear them already. The melodious sound of a new beginning. There are two things I want you to understand. Yes? First, your sister never hurt anyone. Second, Damon Gant betrayed you from the beginning. You see, Miss Guy, you no longer have any reason to keep silent. You're right. When this trial is over, I'll tell everything. All that I've done these past 2 years, from the time I had Gant help me forge evidence up until today. So, it seems all the questions raised in this trial have been answered. I'm sorry, Miss Guy, I couldn't get you all out of all your trouble. My, what high standards you have for a rookie. I can see why Mia thought so highly of you. Who knows, a few years from now you just might make it to the top. I owe you my thanks, Mr. Wright. Miss Guy, and to you too, Mr. Edgeworth. You've suffered every bit as much as I have over these past few days. Believe me, I know how much of an ordeal it's been for you. It was nothing. Liar. I was worried the pressure might break you, and yet, you rose above it all and guided Mr. Wright to victory. You've done well, Mr. Edgeworth. Stop it, I only did my job. In light of this case, it seems a good self-examining is in order for all of us. Miss Guy, yes, Your Honor, you are innocent of murder. However, although the Chief blackmailed you, the fact is you still acted as his accomplice. A trial will be scheduled for these crimes at a later date. Yes, I understand, Your Honor. Is there something amusing about all of this? Why are you smiling? It's been a long time, Your Honor. A long time since I felt free of these heavy chains. Well, this trial has gone on far too long already. Regarding the charge of murder, this court finds the defendant, Miss Lana Sky, not guilty. That is all. This court is adjourned. At long last, it's finally over. Emma? Why the long face? I'm sorry your sister didn't get completely off the hook, but at least she wasn't convicted for a murder she didn't commit. No, that's not it. Just now, after the trial ended. I can see why Mia Face thought so highly of you. I owe you my thanks, Mr. Wright. And to you too, Mr. Edgeworth. You've suffered every bit as much as I have over these past few days. You've done well. You know I did my best too. But Lana didn't say a single word to me. Hope I'm not interrupting anything, pals. It's gonna be the same thing all over again. Hi, Panda. Oh, guess I am. I'll come back later. Wait, Detective Gumshoe, what is it? You like my wallpaper? You're doing this on purpose, aren't you? Making a detective run all around while on duty. And to top it off, you called me here. I've seen happier people at funerals. Hey, lighten up, pals. I'm only kidding. Oh, are you here because of my sister again? Nope, not this time. I came today because of you, pal. Me? Dark? Well, there's only a small window, I guess. I don't get a lot of natural light from the outside in here, I guess. That's right, I thought you'd like to see someone. Lana, should you be doing this? She's still under arrest, you know. Well, I won't tell if you won't. It's over. This is the end of the game, actually. It's the ending. But I won't tell if you won't. Emma, I owe you an apology. It's okay, sis. Don't worry about it. That day 2 years ago was the first time in my life I ever panicked. Thanks. It was all I could do to keep myself from screaming. All I could think about was keeping you from getting wrapped up in that mess. Sis, I asked Gant to help me cover up the truth. I thought I was doing it for your sake, but now I realize I was wrong. I changed after that day. I had to. It was the only way I could make it through these past 2 years. I knew how much I was hurting you by distancing myself, but I couldn't bring myself to tell you what I did. I was scared. Scared that you'd look at me with those eyes of yours. I was scared of how you'd react if you knew. But sis, you were only doing it for me. No. Huh? I turned my back on you that day, and hiding what I believed to be the truth. I was deceiving you. Sis, I'm such a fool. It took me all this time to realize it. Emma, I'm so sorry. But sis, you don't have to apologize. I'm happy now. You're happy? Of course. You know, sis, I always knew that one day you'd come back. And now you have. Oh, Emma. Emma. No one can change the past. The only thing we can do is strive to make up for our own mistake. Why must we make up for our mistakes, you ask? Because in so doing, we can find a way back to our rightful path. And it is from there that we can move on toward a brighter future. At least that's what I felt watching the two sisters make up. Mr. Wright, Mr. Gumshoe, me? Thank you both for all that you've done. I'm sure we'll meet again someday. Isn't that right? Edgeworth? Edgeworth? Stop hiding and come over here. Oh, it was awesome. Quite happy about pretty much everything that's been shown, really. Especially for the Switch. quite happy. If anything, the only thing I'm unhappy about is that I'm not gonna be able to afford all the good games that are going to come out before the end of the year. I'm gonna have to make choices again. Where was he hiding? I just came to say congratulations. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Edgeworth. Right, well, I'll be going now. Mr. Edgeworth, I hope you don't blame yourself for what happened. We were the ones who acted corruptly, not you. It's too late for me. No matter what anyone may say, I realize today that I can't correct my mistakes. Mr. Edgeworth, not only that, but I don't even trust myself anymore. Chief Gant was right. You despise criminals, I can feel it. You and me were the same. One day you'll understand. Oh, believe me, you will. You're just one man. You'll see what it really takes to bring them down once you try to go it alone. I do despise criminals. I plan to dedicate my entire life to finding them, but in order to fight crime on my own, I'd need a weapon. It's scary, but I've known that to be true for quite some time now. My boy Banjo is back. Yeah. I'm surprised it hasn't been announced along with like the same game coming over to the Nintendo Switch. I'm a bit disappointed about that, but it might still get announced later, I guess. At least Microsoft seems open to the idea. Who knows, given enough time, I might have tried to pull something like Chief Gant did. Actually, I think that game, that platform game, New Super Lucky Tale, that platform game with that little fox that was exclusive to Xbox One before, isn't that a Microsoft property as well, that one? The fact that it's coming over to Switch, along with Cuphead, that tells me that, well, Microsoft is open to let some of their exclusives come over to Switch at least. Ah well. Who knows, given enough time, I might have tried to pull something like Chief Gant did. That thought terrifies me. That's why I can't continue on as a prosecutor. They should realize that great of a response should warrant developers to consider making one. Yeah, definitely, yeah. Edgeworth, don't you understand? Dimon Gant and your mentor, Manfred von Karma, were both the best of the best when it came to fighting crime, but they both made the same mistake. You said, in order to fight crime on your own, I'd need a weapon. That may be true, but think back to today's trial. You weren't alone. You were working together with Mr. Wright, and because of that partnership, you were able to present evidence that otherwise would have gone undiscovered. Isn't that right, Mr. Wright? What? Oh, yeah. What is this, a pop quiz? Come on, Mr. Wright, show him what Lana was talking about. Evidence? Huh. Something that neither Edgeworth nor I would have been able to find on our own. What is she talking about? This one? That might mean something to you, but I don't see how it had anything to do with our partnership. Mr. Wright, it seems you still have a lot to learn as well. I guess that wasn't the right piece of evidence. It's time for me to go. If you'll excuse me, there are still some loose ends that need wrapping up. Take care, Chief Prosecutor. I didn't get to show him the right piece of evidence. Edgeworth, what will you do now? Well, whatever you do, just remember, you can't let what happened kill the prosecutor. You can let what happened kill the prosecutor in you, or you can let it help you grow. Okay, I can see what it means now. Okay, in the end, it's up to you. I know, it seems I owe you my thanks too, right? But what I face now is my problem. Edgeworth, I'll be waiting for you in court. Farewell. I'd better be going too. Okay, but I'll be by to visit soon. It seems we both have a lot to learn and catching up to do. Here, this is a little something for you. What's with the chick wearing a Sherlock Holmes hat on all these book covers? Scientific Investigation. It's the first book I ever bought. Study it well. Thanks, sis. I will. And so, another case came to a close. As for the sisters, I have faith. faith that their lives have only just begun. It's your spirit animal, what, a chick? Or a duck? And as for me, it's super cute, yeah. I think it's time I started on a new journey of my own. A journey to rediscover myself. Well, don't go trekking off just yet, pal. Huh? What is it, detective? There's just a little matter to be resolved about the chief prosecutor. You see, she isn't supposed to be out of jail like this. Oh, but I thought you said it was okay. Yes, well, it may be okay with me, but the folks at the prison are a different story. Huh. Basically, I had to bribe a guard in order to sneak her out for 30 minutes. Believe me, it wasn't cheap either. Huh? Way to go, detective. I didn't know you had a wild side. Yeah, well, you see, Mr. Wright, here's the one who will be footing the bill. Huh? Huh? What, you think I could afford it with my salary? You gotta be kidding me, pal. Huh? 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 Thank you, Mr. Wright, you're the best. Why is it? I suddenly feel like I want to scream. Hey, I got an idea. Why don't we all go pay it off together? Hey, that's a great idea. Come on, guys, let's go. Ah, okay, well, we got a second sequence of credits, I guess. After we already got one. I arranged for a friend of mine in Europe to take care of Emma. I hope she'll be pleased to study under a top coroner. As for me, this affair has pretty much ended my days at the prosecutor's office. Still, I'll manage to find my way back to the field somehow. Then I'll be able to investigate crimes together with Emma. Planning. Takeshi Yamazaki. Oh yeah, speaking of E3, since we were on the topic of E3 before, I was a bit disappointed by something at E3. The fact that we won't be able to carry over all the Pokemon from previous generations into Pokemon Sword and Shield. Even though there wasn't a national Pokédex in Sun and Moon, you could still transfer over all of your Pokemon from previous generations. But this time, you won't even be able to carry over all of the Pokemon from the previous generations. That disappointed me a little. They said they didn't say that it would never happen, but at least it won't happen at launch. That's kind of disappointing, I think. Yeah, I just remembered this thinking back to E3. Can you believe it? I've been demoted to a security guard. My partner is keeping an eye on the entrance for me today. I'll show them though. Someday I'm going to make detective. Yes, sir. That I can be just like that Dick Gumshoe. Maybe they want you to leash. Yeah. Yeah, I guess so, yeah. But still. I wonder how it's all going to work to transfer them to the new Pokemon. What's it called? Pokemon. It's not Pokemon World. The name of the new online platform that they want to launch to help you transfer Pokemon. I would consider that an incentive to discover all the new Pokemon instead of relying on your favorites from previous gen. Pokemon Home, yeah, Pokemon Home, yeah. Yeah, I wonder how you're going to be able to transfer them. Maybe they will update the Pokemon Bank again, I guess, something like that. Miss Star managed to sneak, yeah, blah blah blah. Well, Cowboy, it looks like you did it. You even give Bambina back her smile. Can you make sure Billy and the gang get their water? Ah, Billy, that's the cactus, isn't it? Looks like we won't be seeing each other for a while. As a farewell gift, I put a new meal on the menu, the Right Way lunch. The top layer tastes as bitter as defeat, but the bottom layer is as sweet as victory. Kids seem to dig the turnabout theme. It's a hot seller around exam time. Just make sure not to eat it backwards. I'll never forget what that young defense lawyer said after the trial. Let's see, what was his name again? Mr. Left? Anyway, he said he's been doing something or other for many years. Well, anyway, I've got another trial to get to, so I'd better go. Oh no, I forgot my gavel. Sorry, gotta go. Bound. Global Studios. Well, you should have proofread your stuff. There's quite a few typos in this game, which I think were already in the DS version, so... Hey! Nothing soothes the soul like fresh country air. Still, sometimes I do miss hearing you and your objection. Still, I can't go back until I am a full-fleshed spirit medium. Mystic Maya, afternoon training's about to begin. Coming! Well, see you around, Nick. Yeah, it is actually a location you only see in the second game, that location there. That's the village of the mediums. Mediums in training. Mr. Edgeworth. Mr. Edgeworth? I brought you your tea. What's going on? Yeah, what's going on indeed? If we're already at the executive producer, then we must be at the end. Thanks for coming to see me off. I can't believe I'm going to Europe. Thank you, Mr. Wright. Thank you so much for everything. I'm a little sad, but I'll be alright. Whenever I want to see Lana, all I have to do is open this book. Yeah, picture of them too. Is that all? Ah, okay. This is it, I guess. Nothing more. Yeah, it's saving the fact that I've completed that game. Well, okay, well, I'm not going to be playing the next game straight away, but... yeah, alright. Well, I won't move on to the second game straight away. I will find something else to stream in between. I'm not quite sure yet what that will be. I will need some time to think about it. I would like to stream Resident Evil 1 HD on my Switch. But I can beat that game in one sitting, essentially. I can beat it in like 2 hours by now. So, I'd like to stream at least once beating Resident Evil 1 in the hardest difficulty setting, which is invisible enemies. I need to train a bit more before I can do that, but that's something that I want to do in the future. And then I also would like to be able to stream Rayman Legends, but my Wii U is being used by my brother and his girlfriend at the moment to play other games. I need to have my Wii U back before I can start streaming that. And I'm in the process of reviewing The Last Remnant Remastered on the Switch at the moment, and the Contra Anniversary Collection as well. So these are two things that I might do a stream or two about also in the coming days. I just need to figure out how I'm going to be doing all this. But thanks for watching, guys. That was a lot of fun for me to replay through. I'll be seeing you, well, I don't think tomorrow, but I think I'll be back on Tuesday. Okay, well, see ya, everyone.